way to the championship in Homestead, Florida. Now, in this race 1 year ago, Jimmie Johnson got the only win of his Busch Series career. Today, he's a Winston Cup rookie with 1 victory and 2nd in points. Today, 43 new faces are looking for that same victory and a similar validation. The cars and the stories are on pit road. Let's go there now. First to Dave Burns.
And Bill, that very same winning car is here today. Herzog-Jackson Motorsports brought that car with him. And oh, by the way, Tony Liberati, crew chief, brought his notes from last year. But the driver is different. Jimmie Johnson going to the Winston Cup Series, replaced by Todd Bodine. But he can win in the Busch Series. He battled Greg Biffle to the checkered flag at Kentucky 3 weeks ago and won. Let's go to Matt Yoakum.
Dave, 2 top contenders sit in row 2. The Jeffs, Burton and Green, each have 2 wins in 2002. But Burton hasn't seen a top 5 finish since he won at Darlington back in the spring. While Green has been hot in his last 3 starts, 2 top 2 finishes, including a victory. Polling a number of crew chiefs today, they point to the 9 and 21 cars as the teams to beat here in Chicago. To Marty Snyder.
Well, Matt, it's been an interesting week for Greg Biffle. Last Friday night, he took the lead in the NASCAR Busch Series point standings. This morning, Jack Roush announced that Greg will be in the Winston Cup Series next year, running for Rookie of the Year. But it hasn't been all good news for Greg Biffle this weekend. Friday morning in practice, he lost an engine. And even though he qualified 10th, he has to start all the way at the back of the field at a place that's very difficult to pass. But getting around cars is not his biggest concern. I talked to him a moment ago. He told me his biggest concern is missing what he thinks will be the inevitable early wreck. Bill?
Thank you, Marty. Last Friday night, it was under the lights at Daytona. Today, the sun-splashed skies of the Midwest. Sunny and 83 degrees. The first 18 events of the 2002 Busch Series season, 16 races remain. The schedule takes these teams in their title dreams on a cross-country chase that stretches all the way from Charlotte to Phoenix and finally to Miami. Let's go to the pre-race grid.
Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your grace that's shown to us in so many ways. We thank you for enlightenment, mercy, and guidance. We ask for all that today. We ask that you would bless us as fans, owners, sponsors, support staff, crew, and drivers. Father, we ask that you'd give us a clean race, a competitive race, a safe race. Give you all the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise, remove your hats, and welcome Ellie Gerdes.
Oh, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly
Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2.
At the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's bright glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Ladies and gentlemen, she's 11 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, she's 11 years old. She lives in Oak Forest, Illinois, and attends Central Middle School. Ellie Gerdes.
On behalf of Sam's Club in Chicagoland, gentlemen, start your engines.
amazing weekend so far here in Chicago. The Busch Series qualified Friday afternoon, and now they are prepared to take the green flag. And then tomorrow, the Winston Cup Series takes to this mile-and-a-half track. Those 43 cars right now roaring to life in Chicagoland, and the butterflies are really zooming. Not for the guys in the cars, for the 3 guys in the booth that are going to take you all the way to the Busch Series Championship. Let's go upstairs to Alan Bestwick, Benny Parsons, and Wally Dallenbach. Hi, guys.
Hey, Bill. We are ready to go here at Chicagoland today. Welcome to NASCAR on NBC. This race 1 year ago was filled with crashes. 9 caution flags in just 300 miles of racing. Is it going to be that way today?
Probably. Everything's the same here. Nothing's different. It's still a one grade, maybe a groove and a half this time, BP. But the problem is you can't pass. And you're going to see a lot of guys trying to force the issue. And if you force the issue here, we see some crashes. And the last couple of days, we've seen some crashes, and that's not good.
And I hope you're wrong, Wally, because, folks, if you hit here, you hit awfully hard, as witnessed yesterday in qualifying for the NASCAR Busch Series. Christian Eller goes down in turn 3, loses control, and watch when he turns back to the right, how hard he smacks the wall. Destroyed that 38 race car and had to spend the night in the hospital.
Christian Elder airlifted from the racetrack yesterday. He was just released from the hospital after being treated for a concussion and a broken right clavicle. But looking at the damage to that car, he was one very lucky young man to come out of that accident intact. Hey, you got some new toys over there, BP.
Oh, yes, folks, I got to show you my new car, the Roush Team Caliber 360 car. Check it out. Not only do we see the top of the car with the body off, the roll cage, the engine, but we can revolve this thing 360 degrees and show you the bottom of the car. So when the drivers talk about something being wrong with the car, hopefully we can go to our Roush Team Caliber 360 and show you exactly what they're talking about.
One of the things we look forward to bringing you is NASCAR on NBC takes you on the run to the championship in mid-November. All right, 43 drivers getting set to go, starting to roll out onto the Chicagoland Speedway. Why don't we have a look at the starting lineup for today's Tropicana Twister 300. It is Todd Bodine on the pole. His 7th career Bud Pole Award in Busch Series competition. It is his first Busch Series pole since September 2000. It's almost 2 years since he won a pole.
And it looks like that 92 car has not skipped a beat since last year. Jimmie Johnson won the race, and he came back this year. A lot of enthusiasm, same car, and here they are on the pole.
Rapid rookie Scott Riggs alongside. That's the car Jeff Green drove to 2nd in the championship a year ago. Now, there are several cars, as you look at the starting lineup, who have to go to the back of the pack per NASCAR rules. Drivers who had to change engines and that kind of thing. And so we've adjusted the starting lineup to reflect those positions. So Greg Biffle, who was supposed to start in row 5, the point leader coming into the race,
he's not there.
Back of the pack.
In the back. Ricky Henry, great qualifying run. Practiced very well all weekend.
There's Jason Keller, and you see Greg Biffle there. He's in row 5. Okay, I got that one wrong. He's going to the back of the pack with the engine change.
There you go, folks. Forget about Biffle being 10th. He's going to the back. It's all rookie row. Brian Vickerson, Casey Mears.
Joe Nemechek won the last race last Friday night at Daytona. He'll be tough.
And Jimmy Spencer always runs so well in the NASCAR Busch Series race in the one car.
Stacy Compton re-upped with that Kingsford team for next season. He's on a roll here lately, running well. And it's great to see Johnny Sauter back being competitive again after that terrible crash at the Talladega Superspeedway and also California the next week. Kerry Earnhardt, eldest son of the former great champion Dale Earnhardt, has been coming into his own in the Busch Series this year, starting to run a little bit better. And there's Jack Sprague. He was the point leader before a wreck late in the Daytona race last weekend. Fell from 1st to 3rd in points, and he's starting pretty deep in the field here. And Larry Fort, his sponsor, located here in Joliet, Illinois. One of their locations, and Randy LaJoy alongside. Your partner from the golf course, huh? Uh-huh. David Green in the HRT machine. That team making its start here at Chicago. David trying to help him get going. That's the Hispanic-owned racing effort. Thus HRT. There's Tony Raines. Had a couple of strong runs lately. That team trying to bring itself forward from a lack of funding that's kind of hampered its efforts so far this season. And that's a Robert Yates car. Casey Kane, the 98 car. Robert trying to get some experience with this young man. Feels like he has a tremendous amount of talent. Hank Parker Jr. had a hard crash here 1 year ago. Hard? Man, Dan Parks ran in the back of him so hard, it jacked the car up in the air about 4 feet. Some of the drivers now in on provisional starts for this race. Chad Chaffin of Nashville, Jimmy Kitchens of Alabama.
Mark Green is subbing for Christian Elder today. We told you Christian just released from the hospital a little while ago. Mark Green will drive that Great Clips Ford in this race.
And no, folks, don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. That's a backup car.
Yeah.
That car that he crashed yesterday will never see the light of a racetrack again.
Among those who failed to qualify, Sterling's son Stedman, not able to make the for today. Let's get some final stories from pit road before the start, beginning with Marty Snyder.
Well, Alan, already a little bit of panic in Scott Riggs' pit, starting second today as Scott. When he keyed his radio for the first time, it didn't work. They had to replace the entire wiring harness. Now, you can look at this two ways. One, that's a really bad way to start off the day. Or two, their bad luck's out of the way, and they are lucky because they caught it before the race started. To Matt Yoakum.
Marty, Benny mentioned earlier in the show that young Ricky Hendrick has been fast all weekend, and he certainly has. He qualified 7th, but today their goal is just to earn a solid performance and start some consistency. Remember, he was injured earlier in the year. He's just trying to build on next season. He has the same car here in his best Busch Series, finishing 8th at Kentucky. They have that here today, hoping for a win or at least a top 5. To Dave Burns.
Matt, Wally talked about passing being incredibly difficult here at Chicago. Kerry Earnhardt told me that when he is pursuing someone, if that car tries to pass another slower car, he will not follow it around the car. He will, in effect, put the car that they're passing between himself and the car he was pursuing. That's so that he only has to worry about one car to get around. The second groove here is so tough. Guys are really going to play it careful today, including the 12 car of Kerry Earnhardt. Alan?
Dave, thank you. One lap before the green flag and the start of today's Tropicana Twister 300. Beautiful, beautiful weather outside the Windy City this weekend. Could not ask for it to be any better.
Oh, man, it's just perfect. Not a cloud in the sky. We said 82 degrees. Racetrack 128 degrees. That's a little warm, but that'll slow the cars down, so maybe they won't hit the wall quite as hard as they have been. All right, Wally, your second season as an announcer. Are you pumped? You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right.
You ready?
I'm ready. I'm so excited about this second half. NASCAR Busch Series, NASCAR Winter Cup, both this year have been very, very exciting. And looks like it's going to continue to be that way.
And these guys on the outside are going to see some excitement when the green flag drops.
Yes.
Not a good place to be.
75,000 seats here at the Chicagoland Speedway. All of them sold for today and tomorrow. Most of them filled for today. Traffic started building. We arrived at the racetrack a little after 6:45 or so this morning.
Please don't remind me of that.
And they were already lined up all the way down the road. Unbelievable, the response the fans have given this brand new racetrack in its 2 years of existence. And now they're going to get to see what they came for. 200 laps, 300 miles of racing, some $1.2 million is the purse today for the 43 drivers and teams of the NASCAR Busch Series as they work on their second running here at Chicagoland Speedway.
And about all you're going to get out of us right now is green flag, they're off.
Everybody rise. All the fans up at once, the NASCAR tradition, and here we go. Todd Bodine and Scott Riggs bring the field down. We're underway at Chicagoland. Doubling back to the inside of Todd Bodine.
BP, it reminds me of like Dover. Everybody's trying to get to the bottom as fast as they can.
As quickly as they can. Here comes Jeff Burt. So our pole sitter may run third the first lap by.
And does. Riggs leads. Burton is second. Bodine is third. Jeff Green is fourth. Kevin LePage fifth through the first lap. Oh, middle of 1 and 2. Looks like Brian Vickers. No, that's Kerry Earnhardt. Check that. Caution's out. Well,
well, Wally,
we said it was going to be a rough race.
Didn't take long. Did you see all the debris already up in that gray area floating down there under Kerry's car?
And all that smoke is the rear tire rubbing the sheet metal because he's knocked all that sheet metal in against it. And as he's trying to drive back to the pit, all we're getting is tire rub.
Just can't begin to explain the disappointment a driver feels when he's here all weekend building up to the start of a race, and before he gets 5 miles under his belt, he's crashed.
I don't know how he can see.
He can't. Look at him trying to wave the smoke away. It reminds me of going to revival on Sunday night with all the gnats and pests around, trying to get those things out of your face.
You know, Michael Waltrip says if you can drive it back, it doesn't go on your resume as a crash. That's what he's trying to do, I guess. Dave?
Well, and Alan, you mentioned disappointment, and that was another thing Kerry talked to me about, was that he has had a couple of crashes recently, including last week at Daytona, and he said, all I want to do is finish this race today. He just radioed into his crew, is pretty sure it has pretty severe rear-end damage, and they're going to take it back to the garage.
Hey, look at the car crabbing down pit road. Back end's all knocked askew. All right, let's see if we can figure out what happened.
Well, he's somewhere in here. Just lose it? That was Stacy Compton right behind him, wasn't it?
But I don't think anybody got to the back of him.
I don't. Man, didn't look like he got hit.
Unless it was earlier.
Yeah, why don't you? Yeah. You okay with that?
I was on board the Jack Sprague car. Let's go up in here and just see. He's loose getting in the corner. There's no one makes contact with him. He just gets loose getting down in the corner. And Wally, we've talked about it all weekend. These cars have a tendency coming off the corner to get tight, and you've got to have them so loose getting in the corner. That's what happens.
You're right, BP. And it's everybody's going to complain about the cars pushing, but I think what we're trying to do is trying to get the cars tight enough to get into the corner, but it makes them so tight getting off, they have a problem. So they got to try to keep a little bit loose.
Kerry Earnhardt crashing in turn 1, bringing out caution early in the Tropicana Twister 300.
Has just come out of Chicagoland, an early caution for a crash by Kerry Earnhardt, but Scott Riggs, the early leader, on a lightning-fast track on a Sunsplash day in Chicago. Alan?
Yo.
Oh, wow.
He was going, wasn't he? Trying to get up there.
Oh, boy, that was close. Your leader is Scott Riggs. Jeff Burton is second. Todd Bodine is third. Jeff Green is fourth. Then Kevin LePage, Bobby Hamilton Jr., Mike McLaughlin, Ron Hornaday, Jason Keller, and Ricky Hendrick. Those are the top 10.
Yes, and Bill Weber, it is a very fast racetrack. If you saw Kerry Earnhardt just a moment ago spin, crash down between 1 and 2 with all the damage he had, you can understand just how fast these cars are traveling. Man, this...
Who is that?
Who is that that keeps trying to hit the wall off the corners?
It's Jason Keller on the move in the 57 car.
I think it's Johnny Sauter, the 2 car, that every time he comes off the corner.
He's scaring our robotic camera.
Yes. There we see the 2 car of Sauter. Racing alongside Stacy Compton in 59.
Okay, here we go, side by side.
Yes. And look at Johnny go. Run, Johnny, run.
Hold it off.
Hold it off.
Because of the aerodynamics of the cars, though, the guy on the inside, Stacy Compton, has to be really careful when somebody's outside of him there.
Yeah, because the guy on the inside is going to get loose. He's going to get the air taken off him worse than the guy on the outside. So you got to be real careful there.
At least we're seeing guys this year go out there and try to make a pass. Last year, they all tiptoed around the outside of the racetrack, but today they're using it as a way to pass a car in front of them.
This all going on from the 14th, make it 13th place on back. The 66. Oh! Speaking of loose, Stacy Compton.
So far, hasn't hit anything, and so far, no caution.
Got some damage here to the left front valence, which is not going to help here, especially.
No caution. We stay under green.
Well, that car would be pretty tight right now.
So Stacy Compton falling through the standings with that left front fender damage when he slid down off the banking onto the flat part of the racetrack.
Uh-oh, we got
another one spinning down the front stretch.
Start-finish line.
94 car, Larry Gunselman's into the tri-oval grass.
Good deal. Well, that helps Stacy, so now they can come out and bang that fender out a little bit.
Second yellow of the day, and we're all of 10 laps into the race.
Well, Wally, once again, you might have been right.
Boy.
So far, our average is not too good.
Well, this one, at least, nobody hit anything hard. That's good. 94 car, Larry Gunselman, Sierra Village, California, former championship contender in NASCAR's Winston West Series.
You ever see Stacy Compton come off turn 2 and the car just around it went? There we see him. And we talked about it once again. to get these cars ready to run for a 40, 50, 60 lap run. They start these runs so loose the drivers barely can control them. There we see him hit that bump in the grass and damage that left front fender.
And as important as aerodynamics are here, like Wally was talking about,
right rear. One round in the left rear. Steve, let's not
as Wally was talking about, that's going to cause a long, hard day for Stacy Compton and his team. Racing in the Tropicana Twister 300, our Circuit City track fact today. This is the second Busch Series race here at Chicagoland Speedway. You know, the other track in Illinois that hosts the Busch Series race?
Well, I know the ARCA Series runs DuQuoin and Springfield, the 1 mile dirts, but I believe the one that they always talk about, St. Louis.
That's right.
It's over in Illinois,
It's
right?
on the Illinois side of the river. Matter of fact, we'll be there next weekend, Saturday night, with the Busch Series race on TNT.
Not we.
But Wally and I.
Oh, thank you.
We'll be in St. Louis, Illinois.
Hey, when the leaders start to begin, never mind. When the leaders start to begin pitting here today, if you'd like to know where your favorite driver's stall is, you can log on to NBCSports.com right now. Check out the pit map of today's Busch Series race. Plus, you can read Wally's preview of tomorrow's Winston Cup race. He picks the top 5 drivers to watch. That's all at NBCSports.com. Dave.
Alan, Kerry Earnhardt is okay. Kerry, what happened?
You know, we're just being cautious at the beginning of the race and everything. The spotter cleared me in a hole opening, so I got down and this car just broke loose going into one there. I don't understand because it's been good on the outside, stuck real good and everything, past couple of cars and everything, but you know, it's just one of them deals. You know, some cut Chevrolet somebody come over, running good and happy hour, and was looking forward to this race. And unfortunately, we're sitting here talking to you with a damaged car.
Way too early. Marty Snyder?
Well, Dave, remember earlier we reported on the problems for Scott Riggs with the radio. Well, they halfway fix it. Scott can hear them. They cannot hear Scott when he talks to the crew. So under that caution, Harold Holley, the crew chief, had him wave the car back and forth to see if the car was okay. He did that. They assume the car is fine. And for you, Wally, Harold Holley said that's the best way to do it because they don't like to hear the drivers complain anyway, do they?
Oh, no. Jack Sprague, things just get worse for the 24 car. Last week we saw him crash, lose the points lead, and here he is.
Oh, that doesn't sound good. Listen to that engine.
Oh, Jack.
That engine or drivetrain?
It sounds like maybe a drivetrain, like a transmission or gear or something. Oh, man.
Big troubles.
Take it to the garage area. So you're right, it is some kind of drive train problem because they're talking about fixing it. Neither can I, Jack.
Jack third in points, just 45 off the lead, and like Benny said, he was the leader before crashing late in the Daytona race last Friday. Scott Riggs, your race leader.
And I tell you what, this Scott Riggs, the tinker, he certainly doesn't race like a Rebestos rookie challenger, does he?
No.
Man,
No, he sure doesn't. He is, you know, he's very successful last year in NASCAR's Craftsman Truck Series, but he has sure established himself in a big way in the Busch Series this year. Let's check on the point leader, Greg Biffle, in that 60 car. Remember, he had to go to the end of the line because they changed engines after qualifying.
He's not wasting any time cutting up through that field right now. Car looks really good. It's working down on the bottom, BP. Passing cars.
And he was, I think, the fastest car in their happy hour practice, that last practice session that's so important on Friday afternoon.
He just passed 4 cars that last lap. He was 21st. He's 18th. Ricky Hendrick in the 5 car, son of the 5-time Winston Cup champion team owner, and that's Ron Hornaday in the 26.
As a matter of fact, the 26 car, Ron Hornaday, drove the 5 car while Ricky Hendrick set out for a couple of months with an injury suffered in Las Vegas back in early March.
And that position just changed. Ricky just took it away from Ron there. So Hendrick moving back forward. He qualified 7th, slipped back a little bit on the start. Now he's in 11th. Matt Yoakum.
Under that caution, Alan, Ricky Hendrick came on the radio and said he had to rate his number 5 car on a scale of 1 to 10. The entry is at about a 4.5. The exit is about a 6. The problem, like a lot of other drivers today, his car just will not turn. It will not cut in the center of the corner. It's pushing. They're talking about what adjustments to make. And you mentioned his famous father, Rick Hendrick. He's spotting high atop the grandstand.
In other words, you're talking about the center of the corner is about a 1 in a 1 to 10, right?
10-4, Benny.
All right.
And that'll only get worse.
Yeah, that will not get any better.
1 to 10, 10-4.
Let's spin the locker, see what we got there. Look at the shifter or whatever.
That's Mark Green, one of the 3 racing brothers from Owensboro, Kentucky in today's race. Filling in for Christian Elder in this car, though he has driven it in a number of races this season. And he's got problems also.
I ain't got no gear to go by.
And evidently the shifter, something has happened to the transmission is what I gather by the conversation Mark Green is having with his crew.
Let's go back to Greg Biffle. He's just taken the 15th spot from Hornaday.
Yeah, they'll start getting a little bit harder to pass now.
Competition will get just a little tougher as it gets closer to the front.
That's Tim Sauter in front of him in the 19 car. One of Tim's sons is going to drive his first race tonight. Wisconsin Dells Speedway. Son Travis up in Wisconsin.
So Jim Sauter has grandchildren that are driving race cars.
Yep. Remember just a couple of weeks ago, the 4 Sauters all raced together in Milwaukee.
And I talked to Jim about that, and I said, what do you think? He said, well, it taught me one thing. I know now why I quit.
Yeah.
It was hard.
So Biffle continues his march toward the front, trying to protect his slim lead in the NASCAR Busch Series Championship. We're very early in the Tropicana Twister 300 presented by Sam's Club on NBC.
Welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway, the NASCAR Busch Series in action in the Tropicana Twister 300, and Winston Cup veteran Jeff Burton reeling in the rookie Scott Riggs, who's had a sensational season through the first 18 races of 2002. The Busch Series on the track today. Don't forget tomorrow, Burton and the rest of the Winston Cup stars take the green flag in the Tropicana 400 at 2 Eastern Time. It all begins with the Discover Card countdown to green. We'll talk to the big names favored to win. Wally Dallenbach takes you on a ride around Chicagoland, as opposed to Wally taking you for a ride. And we'll look at the ever-changing rule book. Right now, Benny, Jeff Burton's looking for the lead.
And he thought he had him there coming off turn 2. Oh, and Burton gets high, getting in turn 3, almost gets up in the gray area, wisely backs off the throttle, loses a lot of space to the leader, but at least gets the number 9 car back under control.
Ran up on that 49 car, Dan Shaver, with not much super speedway experience.
And it usually takes at least a lap to get the tires cleaned off. You got to look at these tires are 185, 190 degrees. They get in that gray area and pick up all that debris, and it takes your traction away. So it takes a few corners to get them cleaned off again.
You know, Bill Weber was talking about tomorrow's race, and you can experience more in-car camera action with NASCAR In-Car on In Demand. With NASCAR In-Car, you get 5 in-car camera channels with virtual dashboards, real-time in-car telemetry, and live team audio. 1-888-SPORTS-IN is the way to order the half-season package. It's only on digital cable.
You know, BP, I was thinking here, Scott Riggs can't tell the guys what the car's doing right now. Under the yellow, he could wiggle the car, whatever. You know, back in the old days, you guys could put your arms out the window and give the number 2, the number 3 hand on the door, the roof.
You mean you got to have a backup plan? No, you got to have a backup plan. If the radio goes out, you tap the door, that means the car's tight. You tap the roof, that means the car's loose.
Can't do that. The way these seats are right now, you can't stick your hand out the window, so that's a problem. How are they going to see any kind of hand motions? What about it, Dave? Help me here.
All right, I'm talking with Jack Sprague. He just got out of the car. Jack, what have the guys determined so far? They've been under the hood for a little while now.
I'm not exactly sure. I think they're thinking a broken camshaft, but man, we've had a lousy month, bro. It's we struggled all weekend here with this Net Zero Chevrolet, and Dennis changed a bunch of things again this morning, and I was actually pretty comfortable with the car. I told him on that caution, I said, I think we got it. You know, I took the restart and laid back off 14 car and went through 1 and 2 wide open. I'm like, yeah, we're good, we're good. And I went into 3 and a broken motor, but I've had great motors all year. The guys do a great job. It's just one of them freak things. I mean, I don't know. I mean, when's it going to end? I don't know. We've had 4 terrible races in a row, and we'll just come back next week. We can get it done, but it ain't for lack of effort.
Third in points. He was chasing a championship coming into today, guys.
All right, Dave, thanks. It's been a kind of heavy attrition here in the early going for several drivers. We saw as Jeff Burton clears one of the lap cars, we saw both the Wayne Jessalone cars, Hank Parker Jr. and Casey Mears on pit road with the hood up in the last few moments.
And I'm told that Casey Mears lost one of his belts, and hopefully it was not an oil pump belt, because if he did, that would be terminal. If he loses a water pump belt, oh, here comes Biffle, still working his way towards the front. There's Joe Nemechek In the 87, the red car behind Biffle in the 60.
12th place here, Biffle and Ricky Hendrick. No contest. Man, he's just flying.
He has gone from 37th to 11th.
But like you said, Wally, the passes are starting, they're slowing down now. He's having a harder time catching and passing cars.
Anyway, let's get back to this, what we were talking about. How you cannot motion to your crew. You can't even stick your hand out the windows anymore, let alone let your crew in the pits know what the car's doing.
Well, how do you cool off? How do you get that hand out there to get a little air? Oh, those little hoses bring the air in. I said, hey, Marty, help us out down there. Tell us something.
I'm trying, Benny, to tell you that they aren't going to do it under green flag. They told him to leave his hands inside the race car because it needs both of them on the wheel, because you're always turning here at Chicago. So they're going to try and communicate under caution exactly what Scott Riggs' car is doing. But their summation here is that it's getting tight. That's just their guess. But Wally also said in the commercial break earlier that he thought it was getting tight. Now, showing what a veteran Winston Cup driver Jeff Burton is, he radioed a message to Scott Riggs to tell him, hey, if we're in traffic, I will not push you for the lead. I will let you stay in the lead. But when we're out by ourselves, that's when I'll challenge you for the lead. Clearly, Burton right now has a faster car.
Yeah, only one problem there.
Yeah, Riggs could hear it.
Well, actually, no, it's the other way around, right? Because Riggs can hear the crew, but they can't hear him.
Oh, he can tell the crew, and they can tell him. Okay.
There you go. Well, they're in clear traffic now, so Burton's putting the press on. Jeff Burton won the first 2 Busch Series races he entered this year, then had a couple where he finished back just outside the top 10, then the last 2 he's fallen out of.
You know, I really got a kick out of Brad Parrott, the crew chief on the 9 car. Jeff Burton, they won those first 2, and I'm telling you what, they were so cocky. They said, we're going to win 10 in a row. I said, when you do, come see me, and I got a present for you. All the money you want. They haven't won a race since. But man, those guys are really walking the walk, talking the talk.
How they walking now?
Well, I don't know.
Now, how they walking now?
Well, they're kind of low. They're not saying too much right now. As a matter of fact, I haven't even seen Brad Parrott this weekend.
It's a humbling game, racing is.
Oh, it's so humbling.
Just wait 1 week.
You think about it in a football or a baseball game, when you're a player and you go into the contest, you have a 50% chance of winning. The only 2 teams in the game, you're either going to win or you're not going to win. Coming to a race, you're 1 of 43. Your odds are very, very slim to win.
Unless you tie.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you there, Walt. We don't have ties in racing.
Never have. I guess we might have had, but I haven't seen one.
Of course, they didn't have any ties in the All-Star game until Tuesday night since 19-0 whatever.
All right, we see Jeff Burton, the 9 car. He's starting to move around on the racetrack, trying to find a different line because he realizes he cannot run right behind the 10 car because of the aerodynamic push. So he's starting to look around, trying a different line, a different spot on the racetrack where he can try to get alongside this 10, either on the bottom or top.
Or he could just be worrying you to death. Scott Riggs looks up in that mirror and he sees the green car is on the right. It's on the left. He's right behind me. And what he's trying to do is distract him just a little bit so he makes one little mistake, opens that door, and he'll take the lead.
How trusting is Scott Riggs of the message he got about Jeff Burton not pushing him in traffic?
Oh, he's very trusting because Jeff Burton, with his competitors, is a very, very nice man. And again, he's coming over to run a few of these NASCAR Busch Series races per year. He can beat if he can, but he's certainly not going to take a chance knocking these guys out of a race.
Scott Riggs has led all of the 42 laps run so far here in the Tropicana Twister 300. We're past 50 miles in the event. Got a long way to go. You're watching NASCAR on NBC.
4 laps have been completed here for the NASCAR Busch Series at Chicagoland Speedway. There's the rookie Scott Riggs leading the Winston Cup veteran Jeff Burton. Burton is 13th in Winston Cup points, but doesn't have a win on the Winston Cup side this season, and his last 3 finishes have been outside the top 20. He'd like to gain some momentum with a strong finish in this race and see that carry over tomorrow. While you were away, Mike McLaughlin in the 18 car brushed the wall, just headed to pit road now for his team to work on that. They check underneath the right rear. Marty Snyder.
And Bill, they think it might be a gear problem. Mike said he didn't really feel anything in the car, that everything to him felt fine. So they're checking also underneath the hood, and now Mike McLaughlin shuts off the engine. They're going to have to examine what this problem is. Alan?
Boy, another guy high up in the championship standings with troubles. Mike is 7th in points coming into this race. We've already seen Jack Sprague go to the garage. Things are looking good for Greg Biffle right now.
Here it comes. Jeff Burton taking a look, BP.
Looking Jeff Burton as well in that 9 car. He's gaining the spot. Gaining the lead, I should say.
Running up on a lap car into turn 1.
Oh, and Scott Riggs used him as a pick. Hey, he did not bow down to the Winston Cup driver and said, okay, go ahead and take that spot. Hey, I'm impressed.
Stop that race car. You beat him.
You beat him. Oh, yeah.
These spotters and crew chiefs just always doing that positive chatter with their drivers, trying to keep them pumped up. Marty, what about Mike McLaughlin?
When they came in, they found no bolt on the oil pan, so all the oil just drained right out of the oil pan. Problem is, laid a lot of oil down on pit road, and it leads right into Jeff Burton's pit stall. So when they come in for pit stops, it'll be very interesting to see if Jeff Burton can get stopped in time or hits any of this oil as he comes to his stall.
And monitoring the NASCAR radio channel, there are a lot of crew chiefs saying their drivers are reporting oil around the racetrack, too.
Why wouldn't they? He was on the track for at least 2 laps while that thing was smoking.
And I tell you what, Scott Riggs right now in the 10 car, the lead of the race, is really holding up Jeff Burton because, look, Todd Bodine, Bobby Hamilton, they've all joined the race. They've all closed in on the leaders.
Bodine started on the pole, lost the lead on the very first lap, but shuffled back to 3rd. He's remained there through the 50th lap that we're about to complete, but there you see the gap is closed significantly from 1st to 3rd. If we stay under green, we're going to be coming up on pit stops fairly quickly, so let's take a break here. We'll come back for those stops in a moment. You're watching NASCAR on EC. Chicagoland Speedway, he finally did it. Jeff Burton made the move on Scott Riggs just a couple of laps ago to take over the lead. First lead change since the drop of the green flag.
And there he comes off turn 2, finally gets that position on the inside, and Scott Riggs tried his best running in behind a slow car, Chad Chaffin in the 16. But Chaffin moves up the racetrack, and Jeff Burton used him as a pick and got the lead from Scott Riggs, and has pulled away by about a second in the last couple of laps.
Hey, like Alan said earlier, he was holding Jeff Burton up a little bit because Jeff has knocked about 0.3 of a second lap off his lap time since he's in front now.
Here's our Wendy's race menu. What's coming up on NBC and TNT as our coverage of NASCAR gets underway for 2002. Tomorrow at 2 Eastern Time, the Tropicana 400 on NBC. And then it's our encore presentation late night, Monday night. Get you frosty and sit in front of the TV at 1 a.m. Eastern and Pacific.
I don't think so. I think I'll watch it tomorrow.
Will you?
Yeah.
I hope you will.
But, you know, a lot of folks can't watch it, so at least we do have the TNT Encore. They can.
Behind the leaders, the race for second has suddenly got very tight. Gotten very tight.
Todd Bodine in 92, Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 25 car, and Jeff Green in 21. All those cars for position.
Larry Foyt was on pit road under the green a minute ago. Flat tire on the 14 car. That has been replaced. He has rejoined the event. It's back in 32nd place, 2 laps down, and here we go. Todd Bodine under Riggs.
Yeah, they all 3 of them are going to go under Riggs, probably. Running as close as they are.
And they do.
So now Harold Holley, the crew chief for Riggs, is hoping for a caution flag very soon to make a pit stop before they lose too much ground to the leader, Jeff Burton.
You know, that's the downside of that wishing and hoping for a caution flag.
Yeah. Sometimes
it's you that causes that caution flag, and that's what you don't want to see.
Where's Greg Biffle at? Well, Biffle has moved up to 9th place now, so he has continued his charge from the back toward the front. Jason Keller, the 2nd place man in the championship standings, is hanging in there in 7th spot.
And you talk about a caution flag. Well, Greg Biffle is going to have a caution flag if he has any hopes of winning the race, because the last time by, he was almost 13 seconds behind Jeff Burton, the leader. And that's just more distance than he can make up on the racetrack.
Just a couple of cautions in this one. Lap number 3, Kerry Earnhardt turned around and got the wall inside turns 1 and 2. Lap 11, the 94 car of Larry Gunselman spun down the front stretch while Stacy Compton was spinning down the back stretch. Other than that, it's been pretty clean so far. So surprisingly clean compared to last year's race.
You know what? If we're getting close to pit stops, and boy, these guys are under pressure now, BP, because it's going to be so important to get a clean pit stop, because if they pit under green, you can lose so much time. And like you said, 3-4 seconds in the pits is forever on the racetrack.
Pit window 67 to 70 laps, but because of those couple of cautions, might run a little farther than that. So let's take a break here. The leader's Jeff Burton in the Tropicana Twister 300.
Worried about the 47 car, and he was looking over his shoulder to see the 47 car and just didn't notice the wall coming up. We saw Greg Biffle do that at the Nashville Speedway.
While he was leading.
While he was leading, yes.
One thing you don't want to forget about is the wall coming either.
Oh, and Shane Meal, the 47 car, locked about 3 or 4 inches getting tagged in that right rear.
It's a pretty good wall. Don't want to forget about the wall coming.
You don't want to forget about that wall coming.
It'll leave a mark.
Yeah. And there we see he's knocked the fuel pump off the right side of that car, and that's a brief fuel fire we see.
Window net down. Driver signal to the safety officials that he's okay. And now the pit stops. Wally talked about it a minute ago. Track that's hard to pass. When you pass them on pit road, it's a huge advantage. Burton, Bodine, Jeff Green, Hamilton Jr., and Riggs. The top 5 coming in. You see Keller and Biffle back there in line as well. A couple of the involved in the fight for the championship. Dave Burns.
And Johnny Sauter is in. He's tight from the middle off. He needs a drink of water. It's hot out there. Plus, they're going to make a wedge adjustment to the right rear. The wrench goes in. Johnny's team will also change 4 tires, given 4 sticker tires to head back out onto the Chicagoland Speedway. Sauter came in. He gave up 8th position. Marty.
Well, Dave, the first objective for Jeff Burton, get into the stall. He did that cleanly, even though he ran right over the oil. A very quick stop for those guys. He started loose. The car was excellent at the end of the run, and he will win the race off pit road.
Oh, almost some contact as Bobby Hamilton Jr. and Scott Riggs almost made contact. If they didn't, lucky.
I think they did, BP.
I don't know about that.
If they did, and they wrinkled those fenders, that's trouble on a track like this. Todd Bodine had a marathon pit stop. All kinds of problems for him. He came in second. He's going to be at least 10th, if not lower, by the time they sort it all out.
I wonder if they had to make a bunch of adjustments on that car. Or if they had problems.
Let's see if we can see what might have happened on Todd Bodine's Excedrin. This is the way you have a headache.
I count them right now. He and Joe Nemechek are trying to decide who's 11th or 12th at the pit road exit line.
I'm telling Nemechek to get behind me.
Yeah, okay. Tell Nemechek to get behind me. Yeah, right.
All right, here we go. What happened on the 92 pit stop that cost him so much track position?
Well, comes to a stop. Tires are off.
Yeah, they're making adjustments.
Oh, they're taking a spring rubber out or putting a spring rubber in, making some serious adjustment to the right rear. Probably put in a spring rubber in, and that takes so much time. Also making a chassis adjustment.
So actually, this is a pretty good pit stop, considering they made that change.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a crew chief, that's a decision you have to make. Will the track position lost be made up with the gains by the chassis adjustment?
Exactly. Well, they felt like they couldn't win the race, I guess, the way the car was at the time, so they decided to go ahead and make the change now, trying to, hopefully, by the end of the race, have a chance to win. Marty, what do you got for us?
Good eye, BP. That's why I follow you on the golf course. That's exactly what they did. Put a spring rubber in the right rear, extremely tight for Todd Bodine. He knew that right from the beginning of this run, so they got the rubber in. That should loosen him up. That should make that right rear spring stand up and loosen him up just a.
All right, so was there contact?
Well, let's see how good BP's eyes really are.
All right, let's see.
Was there contact at the exit of the
There's
pit
a 25
road?
car coming out.
See?
No, I told you all the time.
You got good eyes, BP.
Look at Chip Warren, the stop-and-go paddle man.
Well,
he's getting out of there.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. Chip's been doing that job for a long time. He knows. One more look. Let's see if this angle proves any more definitive.
And he still doesn't hit him. He still doesn't hit him. See, there you go. Good job, Bobby. See, he could have hit the 10 car easily, but he steered it quickly to the left. That's when we saw the back end kick out on the 25 car.
Never argue with the Winston Cup champion.
I'm not. I respect my elders.
Under caution here at Chicagoland.
Caution. action after 67 laps. The leaders have just come off of pit road, getting ready to take the green flag. Here's our Stacker 2 race back. Last pole winner, Ryan Newman, finished 26th. Last year's race winner, Jimmy Johnson, who of course now drives for Rick Hendrick in the Winston Cup Series, currently 3rd in points and has had an amazing season over there and looking to improve on that again tomorrow. Coming around to take the green, Wally, got to fight that lap car.
Yep, you want to get as fast as, you want to get by these guys as quick as you can, which Jeff is going to do. Now the guys that don't are going to get hung up, and that's when Jeff is going to be able to pull out a little bit of distance between him and the cars behind him.
Richard Childress crews getting the job done on pit road. They got Jeff Green and Johnny Sauter out 2nd and 3rd behind Jeff Burton.
And Johnny Sauter was running where, 7th or 8th or 9th?
Yep.
When he came in.
And Todd Bodine, remember, the crew chose to give up the track position. They came on pit road in 2nd. They're in 11th now on the restart, but they wanted to make those adjustments with the spring rubbers.
Let me add to that Stacker 2 track fact we had just a moment ago. Ryan Newman, the pole winner for last year's race, is also the pole winner for tomorrow's Tropicana 400 NASCAR Winston Cup race.
Scott Riggs on the move. Underneath Johnny Sauter, that's 3rd spot.
Yeah, I wonder, we'll have to find out what Todd's car. Here we go.
Lead change.
Lead. Jeff Green on the inside of Jeff Burton.
It's amazing how good your car will feel on 4 fresh tires, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Bouncing off the wall there in turn 2 as well. Just lightly, but.
That's Casey Kane in the Robert Yates car, but he has continued on and is back up to speed.
And Hamilton Jr., the 25 car, very, very slow. Looks like he might have gotten up in the loose stuff and had to get everything back under control. Looks like he's going again now. Uh-oh. Flat tire, Wally?
I don't know, BP.
Right side tires, let's go, guys.
Fred Wanky, the crew chief, said must have a flat tire. Marty, is that what's wrong?
That's what they think it is, Benny. A right side tire down. They think it might be the right front. They're going to replace both right side tires. Are coming in this time.
Oh, he's going to have trouble getting to pit road.
Brakes, brakes, full flaps. Stop. All right.
The tires are up, though. I'm not sure he just got a bunch of debris on those tires, and it felt like a flat. What do you think, Benny? I mean, they're up right now.
They look like they're up.
It ain't flat. We really screwed up on tire pressure.
Ah, it's not flat, he said. They just
I can't even get in the corner at all. It is pure junk.
They had reduced the tire pressure.
Put these tires on.
Now then, I hope the next set of stops have the tires inflated a little bit more, or he'll have the same problem he has now.
Well, he's got big problems now because he's gone a lap down, and he's probably going to be 2 down before he gets back onto the track. You saw 2nd place change hands. Scott Riggs, Superman on those 4 fresh tires back on that Nestea car. Got by Jeff Burton there for that spot. Remember, Riggs had the lead for the first 46 laps of the race, and then the handling of his car went away, and he fell back.
Ashton Lewis, the 46 car, losing the spot. The 57, Jason Keller. Oh, and quickly gets down to the bottom of the racetrack, and there's Biffle, the 60 car.
Yep, top 2 in the championship there, Biffle and Keller. Keller running in 5th, Biffle in 7th.
Great run for Ashton Lewis. Terrific run.
Yeah, talked with him for a little while yesterday during qualifying here, Benny, and you know, a young driver, young team, struggled all last year without a major sponsor. They got backing this year from the Civil Air Patrol, and he said, we've run better. We just can't seem to finish and get a result to show for it. We keep running good till 3/4 of the way through the race, and then something happens.
Maybe they can't today.
Yep. Here's your championship leader in that 60 car, Greg Biffle, who started at the back of the pack because of an engine change. That'll get him 6th place. And you want to talk about Superman. Greg Biffle lately and this team have been unbelievable the last 6 weeks.
And Nashville, that 3rd place finish that he had, as we said, he ran into the wall, leading the race later on, late, and lost 2 spots. I think he had a car that could have won, but I guess he had some kind of problem, the alternator problem, and they'd had to turn off his coolers and became very warm and had to open the visor for his helmet and just ran in the wall. Kind of like that 49 car Dan Shaver did a few laps ago that caused the last caution flag.
That is just an unbelievable stretch of races, though.
18 car, Timmy Sauter. Oh, no. Looks like an engine problem.
And he heads for the apron of the track, so that's for Sauter. Was running in the 13th place until that smoke started trailing. NASCAR spotters track reporting the track clear of oil, so we stay under green.
Scott Wimmer, the 23 car. Joe Nemechek, 87. Wimmer, the 23, almost won that NASCAR Busch Series race in Milwaukee 2 races ago.
Yeah, and you know, Wimmer started pretty deep in the field too, 33rd, so he's come up a long way to crack the top 10. Surprised Nemechek hasn't run any better than this. That's usually a threat to win anytime he gets into this car.
Hey, I'm surprised he's even in the car. As sore as he must be after that crash at Daytona last Saturday night, I'm just shocked that he's even here trying to attempt a race in the NASCAR Busch Series race.
I was talking to Joe yesterday. It really said it's just trying to fine-tune these things is so important. To try to keep the bodies right where you got the left front fender down on the ground. And you know, it's like what Todd was doing earlier. I think Todd was putting spring rubbers in the right side to get that body to be in the right direction. So you're using that aerodynamics and getting that stick from the body. So I think Joe is still playing around with that, trying to get it.
How about Joe Nemechek, Marty?
Yeah, and I think for a while, maybe for about 10 minutes, he thought about actually not running the NASCAR race here, but they did test here, and they have been pretty good all weekend. I talked to him before the race started. He said, you know, I'm just tired. The wreck in Daytona took a lot out of me. My kids got sick midweek. They gave me the cold. Now I'm sick as well, and so it's been a long week for Joe Nemechek. In fact, he summed it up by saying, I feel like I got run over by a truck, then the truck backed up and run over me again. So he's had a tough week, but he's toughing out here in the Busch Series race. The car has been tight, but most all the cars in the race today are tight.
Nemechek running in 11th spot now at lap 82. Jeff Green, after being pressured by Scott Riggs for a few laps, has put some distance between himself and the second place car now. Now Riggs falling back into the clutches of Jeff Burton in competition for that runner-up position. You're watching NASCAR on 100 acres, some $130 million to build, and it's filled today with some 70,000 race fans. The Chicagoland Speedway, just south of the Windy City. Today's Tropicana Twister 300 for the NASCAR Busch Series is ongoing. Next Saturday at 4 Eastern, NBC Sports presents the American Century Celebrity Golf Championship from the shores of Lake Tahoe. You can watch some of your favorite professional athletes and celebrities showcase their golf talents, including Michael Jordan, Mario Lemieux, Charles Barkley, and more. That's next Saturday at 4 Eastern, the American Century Celebrity Golf Championship on NBC. Did you get your invite to play, BP?
No, I did not, because I can't play with those guys. You know, they're pretty doggone good. I mean, they really are. Michael Jordan is pretty doggone good golf. Of course, he plays 7 days a week.
And I've seen you play. No, yeah. you don't want to do that.
Exactly. I don't want to be on TV with my game.
The embarrassment factor would be high.
Yep.
Race leader Jeff Green out in front by 0.7 of a second over Scott Riggs, who has so far fended off Jeff Burton for that runner-up spot. Johnny Sauter's 4th, Jason Keller 5th. Then you've got Ashton Lewis, Greg Biffle, Scott Wimmer, Kevin LePage, and Todd Bodine rounding out your top 10. Whatever the adjustments that the 92 team made for Todd Bodine, so far it has not been worth giving up the track position.
And very seldom, they had to be really bad for those guys to take that chance, because they realize that once you get back in traffic, just how difficult it does become to pass and get back to the front.
Now, on the other hand, I think Jeff Burton probably starting his car out a little bit loose like we heard earlier, and he's got his car set up to be better on the end of the run. So I think he's sitting here riding, and I think we'll see that car go to the front 15, 20 laps before the pit stops.
Closing in on halfway. So far, relatively clean event, unlike what we expected after last year's Demolition Derby we saw here. Let's go to pit road. Marty.
Well, I don't know what to do. Wally's gotten another one right today. Jeff Burton is starting off loose, a little too loose to his liking. He asked Brad Parrott to please tighten it up at the beginning of the run next time. So they will probably make an air pressure adjustment, although it's very early in this run. But the car does come to him later in the run. It is very good. And Wally and guys, you might see a lot of people try 2 tire stops if we only have one more stop in this race.
Well, remember, a 2-tire stop is what won the thing last year for that 92 team.
Yeah, but you know, you got to be thinking about running 120 laps, 125 laps on the left sides. you know, 175, 80 miles, and that's, to me, is a long distance trying to run the left sides.
Last year's race with Jimmy Johnson driving that 92 car, as we watched Ricky Hendrick in the 5 work on Nemechek in the 87. Last year with Jimmy Johnson driving that 92, they stopped and took 2 tires and the lead at lap 157. And then remember, Ryan Newman was all over Johnson's back bumper with 4 fresh tires and just couldn't get around him. Ended up running into a lap car while he was chasing him.
Pretty dramatic last year with Ryan Newman trying to run him down, and finally did make contact, as you said, with the lap car, knocked the left front fender off Ryan Newman's car.
Your crew chief's radio and you saying, hey, we're thinking about taking 2 tires on our last stop. What are you saying to him?
It really depends on how good the car's working. I mean, if the car's working pretty good and it's neutral and you think you can get away with it, track position is real important, especially if you're pitting under the green.
4th place car, Johnny Sauter. Let's hear about his race so far from Dave Burns.
Well, Alan, Johnny Sauter may not play the 2-tire game. He might play the 4-tire game. Remember, they picked up 5 spots in the pits the last time he was in. Update, he lost 1 spot to Jeff Burton. That's because he's taking it a bit easy. Richard Childress came on the radio, that's the car owner, and he said, take it easy, save your stuff, and that's what Johnny's doing right now until it counts later on.
Here's a young man who came into this season with really high expectations. Remember, he ran some races at the end of last season for Richard Childress, did so well. Caution is coming out. There is debris on the racetrack, and so the yellow flag is out for the 4th time. Caution for debris at lap number 95, just shy of halfway.
I'll tell you what, this is a huge break, and there is the debris.
Looks like the lower lip of a front fender.
Valence, yeah.
And a lot of cars needed this caution flag to make those final adjustments. Now then, all the cars will go in, change tires, and the last pit stop, if they change tires at all, that probably will be right sides only.
I agree.
Last time the leader stopped was at lap 64. So they've only run 30 laps on this set of tires. You think anybody will try 2 tires here to get up front?
Then they got to change 4 the next time, I think. So I think they'll all have to change 4 now, and a lot of them will change 2 the next time.
left rear, or half pound in the left rear.
Okay, there you go. They're talking about changing the left side tires and adding air pressure to the left rear, which tightens up the car just a little bit.
That was Jeff Burton's radio we were hearing, by the way.
Right. He's wanting a little bit tighter at the start. He's not wanting it tight at the start. He just wants to tighten it up so it's not so loose.
Last time, Johnny Sauter's crew, that blue car in 4th place, picked him up from 8th to 3rd, got him 5 spots. If they can do that similar job this time, he's going to have the lead off the pit road. It is Scott Riggs, Jeff Burton, Johnny Sauter, and Jason Keller, the top 5. We cover pit stops first with Matt Yoakum.
Jeff Green leads the parade of cars down pit road. The 21 car making his way to his pit stall. They're going to take on only outside tires. A 2-tire change on the stop. No adjustments on his first stop. He was battling a loose condition on entry. Tied off. They fixed that with air pressure. But this brand new race car needs fresh, clean air out front. That's why he does so well out front. To Marty.
Jeff Burton did not like that set of tires. He didn't tell the team until just now they had a vibration that entire run. What they did is they made a track bar adjustment. They added a pound to the left rear. In front of him, Scott Riggs will also take 4 tires. He was a little bit loose, 2 pounds out of the right rear for Scott Riggs, and he makes his way off pit road.
Oh, what a terrible, terrible stop for Riggs. Had some trouble with the right rear tire and is going to lose 7, 8 spots. And Jason Keller, another bad stop for him. He loses several spots. Oh, man.
Johnny Sauter was out first, Dave.
And Alan, remember how they were going to take 4 tires because they were so fast? Well, they took 2. No changes for Johnny. 2 tires. It was an 8-second stop.
I should have stopped and talked to Ricky Byers. I said, Ricky, remember, you got to be the ball. Right now, he is the ball. I just don't know if 2 tires was the right thing to do.
Coming up on halfway in the Tropicana Twister 300, the new leader, Johnny Sauter's crew, celebrates.
Mark in the Tropicana Twister 300 at the Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet, Illinois, under caution with Johnny Sauter after a 2-tire stop, scored as the race leader. Wally Dallenbach back in the booth with us as our co-analyst throughout this season, but we got Wally an offer. We got him a car Now, you know, sometimes we get, you know, a soft drink to come back. Sometimes you get new shirts. Wally got himself a car. That's so he can get out on the racetrack, and that's what he did earlier this week. You see, you have to practice to be good in the races, and sometimes you have to get a little help, a little input from, well, like a co-driver, and that's what Wally did. He went to NBC's Kelly O'Donnell. Now, that's what she's like in a rental car. How is she on the racetrack? And Wally, how'd it go out there?
Driving a great job or what? we had I'll tell you what, we had a blast. It was fun. I was handing her a doggy bag there, in case you were wondering.
Now, throughout the season, Wally will be taking this car on the track so he can take you for a ride. Tomorrow in our Discover Card Countdown the Green, he'll show you how to negotiate traffic at Chicagoland Speedway. You think it's tough trying to get through downtown? Well, wait till you see what goes on here tomorrow. Wally on the pre-race show will show you how it's done. And Wally, I'll bet that was quite a ride.
That was fun. That was the Roush Team Caliper car. And I believe that was a road course car. So, yeah, it was a pretty fun lap.
Yeah. But that wasn't like our 360 car. That was the real thing.
That was a real thing.
Back underway, pit strategy. The first 3 cars in that lane that's left of your screen, 2 tires only. Johnny Sauter, Joe Nemechek, and Todd Bodine to the first 3 spots by just changing right side tires.
And Biff will jump to the outside and try to get a jump on Jeff Green in the 21 car. He realizes he needs to do it now if he can get by. They're still trying to get by. The 18 car, McLaughlin, is back on the racetrack, several laps down, but meanwhile Green is trying it on the inside of McLaughlin. They're 3 wide off 4.
No out of bounds line here, not like Daytona last week. If you want to brave yourself and drop below that yip white line, you're welcome to it. Trouble turn 1, turn 2. 3 cars involved. Brian Vickers in the 40, Mike Harmon in the 44, and Stacy Compton in the 59. They look like they're hooked together.
They're kind of locked together and some heavy contact with Stacy Compton's car on the right side.
You okay? Fine. Who is that in that car? He didn't even slow down.
Mike Harmon.
Mike Harmon from Birmingport, Alabama. The last one involved in the accident. Stacy's description of that, Stacy Compton's, was fairly accurate.
And we see all the damage to the left side.
Garage, meet him in the garage, guys.
Compton 10th in points.
Man, oh man. I thought there was heavy damage to the right side.
Looks like our 360 car almost.
After you got done yesterday with Kelly? All right, caution out for the 5th time in the race. Here's what happened.
There we see Vickers, the 40 car, gets on the apron of the racetrack in the corner on the inside of Kenny Wallace and pushes him up the racetrack. The 40 car loses control. Kenny Wallace, he's going to spin as well. 33 car Tony Raines involved.
Oh, look at Jason Keller, 2nd in points there. He just missed it.
Where's Stacy at?
That'll be view number 2.
Okay.
Because he's all the way at the top of the racetrack, slowing down.
I did say Brian Vickers in the 40 car, didn't I?
Yep.
Okay.
Brian Vickers has just been summoned to the big blue truck after the race.
Great job by Jason Keller to get through there.
All right, now we see what happened to Stacy Compton. Cars are going to start scattering up against the wall. Watch the top right of your screen.
Oh, yeah.
Who's that? Casey Kane was the light blue car involved there also.
Yeah, the Channel Lock car from Robert Yates Racing.
So by the time this one's done, got about a half a dozen of them dinged up, including Mike Harmon's car. He's going to be out here in Chicagoland. Tropicana Twister 300. We've twisted some metal here in these last few moments. A 6-car accident up inside turns 1 and 2 has put us under caution. Started when Brian Vickers got down to the apron and spun Kenny Wallace around.
And we saw Kenny Wallace. Yes, he did slow down going to turn 1. but he had passed in that other car. His angle was just destroyed to get down the corner. He had no choice but back off to make the corner. When he did, Brian Vickers, the 40 car, evidently was not expecting it because he ran all over Kenny Wallace.
We saw the second-place man in the championship, Jason Keller, just barely missed the wreck. He was way back in traffic because of problems on his pit stop a moment ago. Marty, what happened there?
Boy, Alan, you never know how precarious those points leads are, do you? And that's exactly what happened to Jason Keller. A bad pit stop. They lost 2 lug nuts on the right front tire. It was 20-plus seconds for the stop. They lost 10 spots on pit road, but he restarted 19th earlier. Now he's running 15th, Alan.
Cleanup continues down inside turn number 2, so let's take a break here. Johnny Sauter is the leader of the Tropicana Twister 300, presented by Sam's Club. Hey, 300 with Johnny Sauter leading Joe Nemechek, Todd Bodine, Jeff Burton, and Greg Biffle. Those first 3 took just 2 tires on their last pit stop. Burton in that bright green and orange car. He's the first one on 4 tires.
Now, Johnny, you got to get a better restart this time.
Green flag, green flag.
Want to clear that car.
Lap cars, right of your screen, headed by Mike McLaughlin in the 18. He's 20 laps down after problems earlier.
But Johnny Sauter did not clear the 18 car, Wally. And a battle for second spot. Here comes the 92 car. Todd Bodine alongside Joe Nemechek. Yeah, Johnny Sauter, the 2 car, finally does clear himself of 18.
Got Bodine and Nemechek. Jeff Burton sticking the nose in there.
18's not having any of it, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, they're trying to go 3 wide as Jeff Green, the 21, tries to get alongside Biffle, who's on the inside of Nemechek. All right, they got it all cleared out.
Kevin LePage in the green 37 sticking the nose in there on Jeff Green. Now, the pit strategy of taking 2 tires to get the lead for Johnny Sauter's team. Let's follow up on that with Dave Burns.
And Alan, I'm standing by with Rick Byers, the crew chief for Johnny Sauter. We thought you might take 4 because you could save 2 for later, but and I thought you'd take 4 because you were so fast. Why'd you only take 2?
Well, right now the AC Delco Chevrolet needs to get up front, run a few laps up front. Johnny's having a great time out there. We know we can have a great pit stop later in the day. We need to know if those 2 tires are going to work for us now instead of wait till the last. But I think we're going to have a good shot here. We just be patient and see how it works out for us.
All right, Marty.
Well, Dave, now Joe Nemechek has fallen back to the 5th position. Brian Patty, the team manager, why take 2 tires?
Just track position. I mean, left sides are not wearing. I mean, it's no big deal. Goodyear's got a good tire, and we just want to try something for tomorrow. See what it does.
The problem for Joe, though, is that the car was tight before, and you guys know, Benny and Wally, a lot of times when you put on 2 tires, you make it tighter.
Yeah, a lot of times just changing right sides will tighten the car. But I think the key there was trying something for tomorrow for the NASCAR Winter Cup race. See how the car reacts with 4 tires. In case they have to do it, they'll know what kind of changes to make to the 25 car.
But they're showing everybody else, too.
Well, that's
everybody in the Winston Cup garage is going to say, I wonder if that's going to work.
Big pressure on second place. Todd Bodine in the 92 getting hounded by Jeff Burton. And Greg Biffle, for that matter, coming into the picture in the 60 car.
And I think the Jeff Burton in the 9 car, Greg Biffle, both those cars changed 4 tires. The 2 cars in front only changed 2. I think they just got to ride there for 25, 30 laps and let that new tire advantage start taking hand.
Oh, Biffle almost scraped the wall there off turn 2.
Man, so close.
In fact, Shane Meal did scrape the wall just a minute ago. Check this out.
It looks like he got his right side tires up in the marbles. Lost traction, drifted up the racetrack, and bounced off the wall.
And that was not a light tap.
Back to live action, the front 4 there. Sauter, Bodine, Burton, and Biffle.
Oh, I see a car slow up in 3 and 4.
That's Brian Vickers. Looks like he's been into the wall again. Maybe going to try and let traffic clear and see if he can get it onto pit road. And somebody else is in the wall behind him, too. Who's that? Kenny Wallace? Caution's out. Yeah.
Well, if there's oil on the racetrack up there, because it looks like both those cars have made some awfully hard contact with the outside retaining wall. Well, I know the 48 has.
Almost looks like Vickers might have a flat tire. The front of that car looks like it's laying down right on the racetrack there in the right front.
Yeah, they got some big problems on that Stacker 2 car.
No, he just got well.
That's off turn 2.
Boy, that was a hard hit, too.
Yes, it was. Vickers hits the wall hard there off turn 2.
I think he may have had a right front tire go down.
And the Stacker 2 on board.
Well, that looks...
Is that line of something? See right there? It might just be a shadow from the catch fence, too.
I think he had a flat right front tire going in turn 3. That might have been some debris that he ran over from Brian Vickers' car. That would be my guess. Because as hard as he hit the wall, you know that he broke the rotor, the brake rotor on the right front. And if Kenny Wallace came along and ran over some of that debris, it would cut the right front tire down.
While you watch this situation, Kevin Grubb is on pit road answering a NASCAR black flag. There is a line you're supposed to stay below when you exit pit road. He did not do that on a pit stop.
You naughty boy. We're going to take your toys away from you, Kevin.
And he has lost a lap in that exchange, by the way, the penalty process. So we're under caution for the 6th time in the Tropicana Twister 300. That's Tony Lambert, the crew chief for Kevin Grubb, expressing some displeasure to the NASCAR officials.
And he's got a good audience. He's got 3 of them.
We'll take a break. We'll come back in just a minute on NBC. Earlier today on the grounds here at Chicagoland Speedway, the Pepsi TNT concert stage, Jody Messina performing. She'll sing the national anthem before the Tropicana 400 tomorrow. And speaking of TNT, NASCAR coverage shifts to our broadcast partner there. Next weekend up at Loudon, New Hampshire, you'll see it all starting with Bud Pole qualifying. Next Friday afternoon at 3 Eastern Time. Saturday night next weekend, Wally and I are going to jet off to St. Louis for the NASCAR Busch Series race presented by AT&T Wireless. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And next Sunday, the New England 300 presented by Stacker 2 on TNT at 1:30 Eastern Time.
That's St. Louis, Missouri or St. Louis, Illinois?
That would be St. Louis, Missouri, but the racetrack is in Addison, Illinois, across the Mississippi River.
So don't get lost, okay?
No, I'm riding with Alan.
Stick with me, kid. I'll get you to the right place. We're under caution for the 6th time in today's Tropicana Twister 300 after Brian Vickers and Kenny Wallace crashed separately in turn 3 and 4. Both drivers, Kenny Wallace driving his car back to the garage, Vickers climbing from his car, so both drivers okay. This was just a moment ago up at the accident scene in turn 4.
And Brian Vickers, the driver of the 40 car, does not look very comfortable when he gets out of the car. It's like he's
holding his ribs there.
Yeah. Man, that is hard.
And to make it worse, he's got to go to the big red, or the blue truck, I guess it is.
Blue truck, yeah.
Big blue truck.
Busch Series truck is blue.
Right.
Winston Cup Series truck is red. Thank you. I'm just explaining that for everybody else who might not have understood.
I know, you're looking at me like you were scolding me again.
Yeah, well, that's my job. How about Johnny Sauter? This young man, we talked about him a little bit earlier, who great things were expected of him this year, but he took a couple of very wicked hits earlier this spring that set him back.
And you know, the most impressive thing about Johnny Sauter, the driver of the 2 car, in Charlotte, for the 300-mile NASCAR Busch Series race before the Coke 600, Johnny Sauter took himself out of the car because he could not tell Rick Byers and the crew exactly. He just didn't feel comfortable. So he decided that he would take himself out of the car, put his brother Jay in the car as the driver.
And he is in the lead now. He has been out in front for since the last set of pit stops when his team just took 2 tires. Let's check up on that 2 car once more. Here's Dave Burns.
Allen Racing is full of gamblers, and they almost came down pit road. If they could get about 4 more caution laps before the end of this race, they would have been within their fuel window. They would have taken on 4 tires, and when everyone else came in later to pit, it would have cycled back around, giving Johnny the spots up front. But they decided, no, we'll stay out now, keep our track position, and continue leading, and pit one more time. Marty?
Dave, I don't know who's been more busy, the Wrecker crew or Tony Liberati's crew, the crew for Todd Bodine. They have made 8 separate adjustments to this race car today, and Todd radioed in after that short run, said it's a lot better. They are thinking about a 2-tire stop the next time, which would make it two tire stops in a row. Matt Yoakum.
Marty, the Biffle team is actually looking at possibly taking a 4-tire change on their last scheduled stop. They have one set of tires that Greg really liked when he scuffed in tires during the final practice session. They're holding that set as his final set. He was talking on the radio to his teammate Jeff Burton in third. He says, look, I'm really good, the best I've been all day. If you can't get by the 92, let me take a stab at it. Burton said, I'm just riding right now. Alan?
All right, man, thanks. We've been talking about aerodynamics all day long, guys. Here's our Team Caliber 360 race car. Show us what we're talking about.
Wally, talk about those front fenders and just rub those beautiful things.
Oh, baby. This is you want this part of the car to be right down on the racetrack. This is real critical. And that's what everybody's trying to do. They're trying to get the car real soft in the front. Right here is what you want, almost dragging through the corners. That gives the car the front downforce that these guys are looking for to stay low on the racetrack.
And we can see just how rounded this fender is. If you ding it in like we saw the 59 car earlier, just how much it would damage the airflow as it goes around the car.
All right, we're getting set to go back to green here at Chicagoland Speedway. Johnny Sauter, this time getting the jump on that lap car of Mike McLaughlin, who was reminded by the NASCAR officials in race control that he is 18 laps down right now, or 19 laps down.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize that.
And doesn't need to be in there racing the leaders.
No, you're right. In fact, you should be probably starting in the back, because normally if you're that many laps down, hey, what are you gonna, if you make up 5 laps?
Got to get that TV time for the sponsor, though, where you can.
And Biffle, the 60 car, going by Jeff Burton in 9, trying to take that 3rd spot away.
Team cars, Roush Racing there. And look at this, Scott Riggs thought he was going to make that 3 wide for a second. Jason Keller continuing to recover from the pit stop problem earlier. He's up to 8th in that 57.
That's a battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th. And Jeff Burton able to maintain that 3rd spot. Biffle not able to get by.
Kevin LePage, Timberwolf car there.
Ashton Lewis, 46, continuing his great run here this afternoon.
This is on board Jason Keller.
And the 27 car, got to give a call to Jamie McMurray. He's had a terrific run. Started in 30th position, that blue and white 27 car. He's up there battling Ashton Lewis for the 10th spot.
Really been doing a great job this year. Dave, how about Jamie McMurray?
His starting spot was worse than 30th. They had a bad motor all through the day during practice and qualifying, so they changed it after qualifying. That made him start at the rear of this field. He's gained a lot of positions.
Attaboy, Dave.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. in that 25 car. Rallied back to 12th. Remember, he made the green flag pit stop earlier. Didn't like the air pressure on a set of tires. That was at lap 71.
I'm just shocked that Hamilton Jr. did not get lapped.
Car in a wall back here, coming off of turn 2.
Looks like Jamie McMurray.
Caution's coming out. No, it's Scott Riggs.
Scott Riggs. Hard contact.
6th place car.
That 31 car's got to get it down.
He's not going to get that car down. All right, right front corner of that car. Look at it. This would be the 7th yellow of the Tropicana Twister 300. And you see Scott dropping the window net, his signal to the safety workers that he's okay.
It looked like we saw Scott Riggs try to turn the car left to go down, but it just would not steer. He's knocked the steering off the car when he made contact with the outside retaining wall. And Wally, I wonder now if some of these guys might be able to make it the rest of the way. They've got to run 75 laps. 100,
Be close.
Be close. 110, 15 miles.
Be 78 to go when they come around this time. Boy, you know, if the restart comes with 72 to go, yeah, depends how long it's going to take to clean this up. Leaders coming in, not many others are going to follow him.
Oh, can you say track position and loss? And the loss of track position? Oh, no. Dave Burns, what are they going to do now?
Well, Benny, they can take their time and change all 4 tires, make sure every lug nut is tight, make sure that thing is packed full of fuel, because he will need every drop to make it to the end. Again, the idea is that now Sauter will go to the end of the line. Later, others will have to pit. And if Johnny's avoided all the carnage that we've seen out there today, he will move back toward the front. He's gone from pit road.
Good pit stop, 16.2.
And Joe Nemechek is on pit road, guys. It's going to be a 4-tire stop. Remember last week at Daytona, they got terrific fuel mileage. They are getting some of the best fuel mileage in the NASCAR Busch Series. They think they can make it the rest of the way on fuel, and he has 4 fresh tires.
Man, this is going to be big.
Let's update that lap count, too. This is with 75 laps to go.
That's what I said.
My scoring computer over here shows a different number than yours. I think we've got
Scott's holding his side as well.
That's not good.
And we can see he's obviously in pain.
Remember, Johnny Benson broke some ribs just last week at Daytona.
And he said, I don't need that stinking bed, but let's see what happened. Oh,
something broke.
Something broke. The car just, the rear track bar broke. See how the left rear is sticking out of the car? Oh, that broke before the crash.
I'd like to see that again.
The car definitely lurched there, hung it right hard.
Yeah, but I'd like to see it again and be looking at that left rear tire when we start that replay.
Well, maybe he just got loose, and as he corrected it off, too, back into the wall, kind of like Christian Elder did yesterday.
All right, let's see.
I don't
Watch
know.
the left.
No, something broke.
Yeah.
Something definitely broke.
We just couldn't see.
And it came from the front of the car.
Yeah, just couldn't see that the rear end was out of it there.
Watch on the left front here. There you go. Yeah, you're right, Pete.
I think he just got.
Maybe you're right.
I think he just got the car loose.
Yep.
And the smoke that we saw from the left side, the left rear springs they run on these cars are so soft, and when you turn it back, if it gets any weight at all on the left rear, it just sinks to nothing.
Scott has walked to the ambulance. He'll take the mandatory ride to the infield hospital, and we'll get an update there on him as soon as we can. Dave Burns, what do you got for us?
Alan, look at this. Johnny Sauter came into the pits, and this is the... Gosh, I'm going to look at it now.
It's a tire.
Right rear. Well, thanks, Benny.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a tire. Is this the right front? Right rear. Right front or right rear?
That's right rear.
Right rear. This is big circle right here because he had a hole in it. If he hadn't pitted now, he'd got back up to speed. There could have been big problems for Sauter.
Wow, lucky break for him. Johnny Sauter is going to come off the pit road after stopping, though, well back in traffic. He's in 17th place after visiting the pit road under this yellow.
Miles south of downtown Chicago at the Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet, Illinois, under the 7th caution afternoon in the Tropicana Twister 300 for the NASCAR Busch Series. And it has been quite an event to this point. As mentioned, already 7 caution flags for these drivers on the racetrack. Let's take you through some of the action that we've seen so far here today at Chicagoland. And it started early. Lap 3, Kerry Earnhardt bringing out the first caution after a spin. Then just 6 laps later, Stacy Compton was involved in a 2-car incident. Then on lap 11, we had another caution. The 94 car of Larry Gunselman going for a spin. Then on lap 63, it was the 49 of Don Shaver hitting the wall of brief fire. He was okay. Lap 102, a multiple car incident brought out the caution. Then, a few laps later, lap 114, a caution comes out again after a car brushes the wall coming out of turn 2. Then, lap 125, just moments ago, Scott Briggs, the rookie who's had such an impressive run, knocks down the wall, came out of the car in obvious pain, holding his right side, potentially some rib damage there. We'll update that as we go along. Right now, 128 laps on the board. Plenty of racing still to go here this afternoon for the Busch Series. We'll rejoin you tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern Time when the NASCAR Winston Cup Series hits the track for the Tropicana 400. Coverage begins with the Discover Card Countdown to Green. We'll talk to point leader Sterling Marlin about his fabulous first half and how he plans to hang on to that point lead, and we'll also talk to the guys chasing him. While he takes you for a ride, Benny has a new trophy and plenty more action when we join you at 2 Eastern Time. Action on pit road. Let's go to Marty Snyder.
And Todd Bodine is in, giving up a lot of track position. The second place car comes down pit road. He was loose. They went down 1 round on the track bar. It will be a 4-tire change, and all the fuel that they can pack into that race car. They are clearly making a fuel mileage run. Also, Joe Nemechek's team recalculated. They wound up being about 2 laps short. When they get the 1-to-go signal, they will come back down pit road and pack that car full of fuel as well, Alan.
The big S word, strategy.
Fuel simple strategy. It is amazing how often it works out in this business of stock car racing. The NASCAR Busch Series, NASCAR Winston, it doesn't matter. It always seems to be fuel.
Yeah. Now, Nemechek didn't stop yet.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, Nemechek stopped the first time, then he came back in to top off. Johnny Sauter stopped. Now Todd Bodine is stopped. But all these guys up the front, Jeff Burton in the green car there, the 9, Biffle and Jeff Green and Jason Keller and Kevin LePage, they're all going to have to stop again before the end of the race. If the caution doesn't come out and they have to stop under green, that plays right into the hands of Johnny Sauter. Even if it does, Sauter and those other guys will stay out.
They will not stop again. No, they've made their last pit stop along with Jimmy Spencer, Randy LaJoie, several other cars.
Green flag back in the air, and Burton quickly clears the lap traffic. The Roush boys up front now. Here comes Biffle. By the way, Todd Bodine dropped to 18th. After making that pit stop, Johnny Sauter is in 14th on the restart.
And we know why Greg Biffle is trying so hard on these restarts to lead on that, because number one, when the tires are the coldest, the car has more stability, so he's trying to get in front because it pays bonus points. 5 bonus points to lead. He hasn't led today, and he's the leader in the NASCAR Busch Series, so he'd like to add to his total.
Slim leader, too, just 39 points on Jason Keller.
His teammate will let him by, won't he?
Oh, yeah, no problem. We said he's letting him by. He's pulling away by 6 car lengths.
You know, if they get away from third place enough, I believe you would, yeah.
Yeah, I think they would, too.
They'll orchestrate a lead change for a couple laps to get Biffle his bonus points and then put Burton back out in front and resume action.
On board to Granger Ford with Greg Biffle as we see the leader, Jeff Burton, up there, 10, 15 car lengths in front of him. Hey, Matt, what's Biffle saying to Randy Goss and those guys in the pits?
Well, BP, under that caution, Goss was talking to Greg Biffle and said, look, you know, the other point guys have had a lot of trouble. Should we talk to the 9 and see if they will let us by to lead a lap to get 5 bonus points, and we'll let him back by. But if you think you can get by him on your own, then we won't say anything. Biffle never answered. They're going to wait and see if this gets strung out a little bit, and then they might do a little bit of team maneuvering here for bonus points.
Well, they better do it soon if they're for Biffle's case, because Burton's riding off into the sunset right now.
Yeah, he'll have to stop and eat a sandwich if he lets Biffle by if he keeps going.
Big sandwich. Lead now at 0.6 of a second after just a few laps of racing from this restart. Jeff Green another 0.6 of a second back in third. And then you've got Ashton Lewis here on the move. This will be 5th place that he's taken from Kevin LePage.
That's 2 guys there that you're glad to see having the success they're having in the NASCAR Busch Series. The 46 of Ashton Lewis, who, as Alan told you, fought so hard last year, unsponsored, struggled so much. And Kevin LePage, who was out of a ride. The driver of the 37 car, Jeff Purvis, the driver of the 37, was injured up in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. The Bruco crew asked him to drive. Kevin LePage, and he's done a terrific job.
Oh, 60 car. Had some trouble. Is having some trouble. Thought for a minute he just got tangled up with the lap car there of Tony Raines at 33, but I maybe wondered if it was more than that.
Whatever happened, he lost a couple of spots. And the bad news for Biffle, the guy that's closest to him in the points, as you said, just 39 points behind him, Jason Keller was one of the cars that got by.
Let's check this out. This is turn 3, last lap. Yellow car is the lap machine of Tony Raines.
Oh, Tony almost lost it. Went up the racetrack to save it and happened to be right in front of Mr. Biffle. And Greg had to check up, and he checked up. Jeff Green got by, as well as Ashton Lewis.
Tony is 2 laps down, 33rd place. This will be close.
Watch this. Oh, Biffle right in front. I mean, Raines right in front of Biffle, and Greg did a good job not running the back of him. Man, what's going on with with Ricky Hendrick?
Well, Benny, he thinks he has a tire going down for the second time today. It turned out earlier it was just some trash he picked up on his tires, but now he feels like he has a tire going down. He will be able to go the distance after this, but it's going to be a very costly tire going down for young Ricky Hendrick. This is a very slow stop. A lot of guys on this team, from Jack Sprague's team, also from the 25 Winston Cup team, a hodgepodge effort, a slow stop, though, for Ricky Hendrick.
Looked like he was too close to the wall, and he could not get the left side jacked up because the handle didn't have enough room to go up and down.
And Ricky is now 2 laps down. He's back in 20th place and falling as a result of that second unscheduled pit stop today.
And I'm told that he came down pit road pretty hot. When he slid to a stop, the car slid over next to the inside pit wall, and as I said, got so close to the wall that the jack wouldn't work properly.
Going to get a drive-through penalty. Ricky Hendrick is speeding entering pit road. That means he's got to come all the way down pit road at the pit road speed limit. Drive-through, pass-through, different names they call it. Either way, you're losing a lot of ground.
So that's the first time we've seen this penalty put into effect, and Ricky Hendrick happens to be the one.
First time we've seen
it, yes. Talking about NBC, TNT Group.
There you go. 55 miles an hour may seem pretty reasonable when you're out on the interstate, but when the guys coming by here doing 185, you're losing a lot of ground.
Doesn't feel reasonable on the interstate either, really.
I'm just kind of framing things in case we happen to pass any Illinois State troopers on the way to the hotel, okay? Like the one this morning. Kevin LePage from Vermont in that 37 car, and Bobby Hamilton Jr. of Nashville in the 25. Hamilton Jr. recovering from an unscheduled pit stop at lap 71 very nicely, thank you.
I'm amazed how well Bobby Hamilton Jr. is doing in the 25 car, because he lost almost a lap in that 25 car with that unscheduled stop.
He is at this point 5 1/3 seconds behind leader Jeff Burton. 142 laps are complete in the Tropicana Twister 300. Jeff Burton is the leader with 54 laps to go. He's up by almost 3 seconds since that restart on Jeff Green. Now, Scott Riggs was in a very hard crash back at lap number 125. He was taken to the Infield Care Center. Dave Burns is there to give us an update. Dave, what do you know?
And Alan, Scott is still in the Infield Care Center. I just spoke with Brian Crichton, who's the Director of Public Relations here, and Brian tells me that he's complaining of some right side rib pain. He possibly has a fracture, according to the doctors. They're going to keep him there, observe him for 1 hour. We also checked on Brian Vickers. Nothing wrong with Brian. They checked him over and released him right away.
All right, thanks, Dave. We hope Scott Riggs does not have that fracture, but that's not good news for him. Riggs fourth in the championship coming in, and while we await further word on him, let's check in on our leader, Jeff Burton. I believe it's Marty Snyder who's got the update on him. Marty?
Yeah, he is actually kind of funny on the radio. He said, this is one hooked-up race car. Very happy right now. He said he's been holding just a little bit back. He's going to unleash all of that right now because he knows there are 2 cars, at least 2 cars, that can make it all the way on fuel. So he's going to build as big of a lead as he can right now because he wants to have all that time because he knows they have to come down pit road. Back in third, Jason Keller is doing an excellent job. The car is running really well, just a little bit tight. And remember, they had the bad stop earlier. They restarted 19th. They have worked their way all the way up to the top 3.
Meanwhile, Greg Biffle has lost another spot. Ashton Lewis has been able to get by and take over the 4th spot. So right now, Biffle is struggling.
And you see, it's a distant spot too. Ashton Lewis not only went by him, he left him.
Yes. We heard Biffle backing off awfully early, getting in turn 3, which tells me something is severely wrong with this Granger Ford. Listen.
It looked tight coming off of 4 there that lap. It's off the gas a long time. See how the car really slides up the racetrack? Usually that's because it's not turning.
And in case you're not familiar with the term, tight is when the front of the car doesn't grip as well as the rear of the car, and it doesn't want to turn left when you need it to.
You can turn it all you want. It just continues to go straight. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but we're trying to explain what tight is.
And the only way the driver can fix that on the track between pit stops,
back off the gas.
Let off the gas.
And when you do that, you slow down. Don't go as fast.
It's kind of a whole complicated thing there, series of events that means you're losing a lot of ground. Ashton Lewis, telling you what, great performance for this team today. He's hanging in there in fourth. He's pursuing Jason Keller for third. Dave, how about it?
And I want to update you on Kevin LePage, who has raced pretty well in the top 10 all day. LePage right now says the car is still just a little bit snug, which means tight. They may make a final adjustment when they have to pit, which is on lap 170. They pitted on lap 97. They can make it on fuel till 170, so they'll have to come in before this is over.
There's Kevin, Clarence Brewer's car out of Kentucky.
Going by the David Green automobile.
Well, he went below the white line.
Kevin is right now about 8 1/3 seconds behind the leader, Jeff Burton.
Kevin started the race in 5th place in that 37 car. Best finish so far this season was a 3rd that he got just last Friday night down in Daytona.
Meanwhile, Bobby Hamilton Jr. trying to go 3 wide. It's on the inside of the page. This is for the battle for the 6th spot. I started to say give it to Hamilton Jr., but I might have spoken too quickly. No, I was right.
So Hamilton Jr. moving up a position as he continues his march toward the front. Problem for him, right now he's 9.5 seconds behind Jeff Burton. And he still needs to pit again before the race is over. So let's talk about this strategy thing. Jeff Burton trying to put as much distance on Johnny Sauter and Joe Nemechek as he can. Sauter and Nemechek, the guys that can make it the rest of the way on fuel.
Johnny Sauter's only 11 seconds behind Jeff Burton right now. Jeff's going to have to make a lot more ground up than 11 seconds.
Oh, yeah, it'd probably take him 11 seconds to go down pit road from one end to the other.
So basically what Burton needs now that they're inside his fuel window, he needs a caution.
Yes.
And he has no choice but to run until he runs out of fuel, gets a caution flag, or has to pit.
David Green in the 09 car giving way to Johnny Sauter. Let's see where David's at here. That 09 is in 20th place, 3 laps down. Blue team trying to get their feet under them. Only run a couple of races.
Right now we have 17 cars in the lead lap with Jeff Burton. The last car on the lead lap is Casey Kane, the 98 car.
So how much ground can Jeff Burton put on those guys who can make it the rest of the way? When will he stop under Green? Will it be enough, or can Johnny Sauter pull the upset victory? These stories and more when we come back to Chicagoland.
Hey, Kenny, thanks for setting up this workout with the WWE Superstars.
Yeah, suggest they help us toughen up for the next.
NBC brings you the Tropicana Twister 300, presented by Sam's Club from the 1.5 mile Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet, Illinois. Better part of some 75,000 on hand today, watching what's been a pretty action-filled race so far. Key number, top right-hand column, 7 caution flags. And that bottom number, 14 of the 43 starters already out.
And a lot of these cars with a lot of damage to the cars, and that's not good news, especially after last week's race at Daytona when a lot of cars with a lot of damage.
Jack Sprague and Scott Riggs are both out of the event. Sprague out with an engine problem at lap where is it? About lap 52, thank you. And then Riggs with that hard crash you saw just a moment ago. And that's going to cause him to finish well back in the field and drop the 3rd and 4th place drivers in the championship well behind Biffle and Keller. And for Jeff Burton, if he had cruise control in that thing, he'd be on right about now. Crank up the stereo, pop a CD in the player. He's kind of out for a drive right at the moment.
And Biffle's about to lose another spot in the 60 car. There he goes by with Bobby Hamilton Jr., the 25. The Marines have landed.
They're on the march.
On the march.
Any other puns we can come up with there?
I don't know. That's about it.
Scott Wimmer was just on pit road under the green flag. Let's go to Dave Burns. What happened to Wimmer, Dave?
Well, that was his scheduled pit stop, Alan. They made a track bar adjustment because he was a little bit tight, and they changed 4 tires. He is good to go to the end.
Jeff Burton was last on the pit lane at lap 97.
Well, he's getting pretty close to his pit stop. As a matter of fact, Mike Wallace is on pit road, the 4 car, making a pit stop, his final stop of the day. But Jeff Burton,
in next 5 laps anyway, he's going to have to come in.
He's going to have to be in. There we see Mike Wallace. Left side's going on.
Mike could run from the back of the pack up to just outside the top 10.
A little trouble on that left rear.
Is Biffle coming to pit road? Is that why he would move to the inside and let Hamilton Jr. by, or is he just tired of the pressure?
I don't think he can run high. If that car is as tight as it looks, nope, he's coming to pit lane.
Jason Keller also coming to pit lane, isn't he? Yes.
Top 2 in the championship. Going to have a little head-to-head showdown with their pit crews here. Stops coming with 33 laps to go. They'll need to take on most of about a half a tank of fuel.
Not waiting for the second can, guys.
So they get 2 and 4, Matt.
And the 60 car slides through his pit. He's going to have to back it up. This will be costly for Greg Biffle, chasing his 8th career win. He was going to be out of gas right at lap 167 when they're making their final stop. 2-tire change, and he is down and away to Marty Snyder.
Jason Keller is gone, Matt, with a 2-tire stop and a wedge adjustment. He will beat the man that leads him in the NASCAR Busch Series point standings off pit road. He was just a little bit tight again, and 2 rounds of wedge in.
And Greg Biffle lost about 2 seconds by overshooting his pits. Otherwise, he'd have been right on the back bumper of the 57 car like he was when he came in.
Jeff Green heads for pit road, the 2nd place car. Ashton Lewis right behind him, ducking for the pits.
Right side's holding. Try to get all that 1 can in it, Mike.
Matt?
And Jeff Green, the 21 car, on their last stop, they took on 4 tires. A last-minute call. They were originally going to do 2. Now they're setting up for their final stop. Butch Hilton said a 2-tire change. No adjustments, but this car really likes fresh air. But he is gone. The 46 car of Ashton Lewis Jr. in. No adjustments, although he said his car was a little bit on the tight side. This will be a 4-tire change, and he is gone.
You know what? That's not a bad strategy on Ashton Lewis' part, because everyone else is going to change 2. He's going to change 4. If we happen to get a caution flag, then he will have better tires than the cars in front of him, because you know they're not going to stop. He might be able to outrun some of those cars.
Here comes your leader, Jeff Burton, off the gas in turn 4, coming to pit road. His final stop with 29 laps to go. Brad Parrott leading the 9 team for Roush Racing. Let's see what they're going to do. He heads down to Marty Snyder.
Well, Alan, about 5 minutes ago, they were going to make a 4-tire stop on Jeff Burton's car, but their hand was forced by everybody else taking 2 tires. So it will be a terrific. There will be no chassis adjustments. It's the same car they won Las Vegas with, and they are very happy with it right now, and a very quick stop for this team.
7.7, a great stop. You're right, Marty. But while he was coming down pit road before he stopped to change tires, Johnny Sauter in the 2 car drove by.
Right now, Bobby Hamilton Jr. is the leader. 25 car, there he is. He and Kevin LePage in the 37 have not yet stopped. Then it'll go to Johnny Sauter, Joe Nemechek, and Todd Lorine. The 3 guys that stopped on that last caution topped off the fuel. Got a further update on Scott Riggs. He is being transported by ambulance, by ground, to a nearby hospital in Joliet for further x-rays of his rib cage. And again, we wish Scott nothing but the best. I talked to Johnny Benson earlier today. Johnny recovering from rib injuries he suffered at Daytona last week. Based on my conversation with Johnny, rib injuries are no fun.
No, they're not.
And Scott's going to be in some discomfort for a little while. When will Hamilton Jr. stop? Got to be soon.
Casey Kane is coming down pit road, the 98 car.
Robert Yates Racing Machine is in. Little damage from an earlier accident. Let's check on his stop. Dave?
Casey Kane is in. They're going to go to the right side first and try to get him back out here. He's been having radio problems all day. He had radio problems last week at Daytona. And now trouble on the right rear, a long stop for Kane. He couldn't talk to the crew, so they probably make some adjustments based on what he tells them while he's right here. But they're fixing some damage, it looks like, now on the right rear as well, guys.
Yeah, a little 200-mile-an-hour tape Band-Aid going on there, Dave. Here comes Kevin LePage in, going to give up second place for his pit stop. This will be with 26 to make it 25 to go.
Jimmy McMurray is following onto pit road.
By the way, Bobby Hamlin Jr. stopped at just past lap 100. So he can run more laps than Jeff Burton could. He's going to have to pit shortly, though. Dave?
Kevin LePage is in. Remember, this is the 7th race for him in this car after Jeff Purvis was injured at Nazareth. 2 tires for LePage, 1 can of gas, no adjustments, and he heads back down pit road.
25 cars, the only one left to pit. He's 5 seconds up on Johnny Sauter. But Johnny Sauter is up 23 seconds on Jeff Burton.
I tell you what, Joe Nemechek is coming on Johnny Sauter right now. He's a little, about 3/10 of a second faster, so this could get good.
Keep an eye on the 87, the 57, and all the contenders for the win in the Tropicana Twister 300. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Tropicana Twister 300 presented by Sam's Club, coming to you on NBC from the Chicagoland Speedway, and we're down to the final 18 laps with Johnny Sauter in Richard Childress's AC Delco car out in front. Bobby Hamilton Jr. just made his pit stop while we were in the commercial break. He is back on track after 2 tires and fuel. And now Sauter's up by a 2 3/4 on Joe Nemechek.
But as you said just a moment ago, if Nemechek can get a clear racetrack, he's hung up in traffic right now, but if he can, looks like he's gaining on Johnny Sauter.
Sauter has the lap car of Mike McLaughlin, Larry Foyt, Shane Neal, and Jason Keller between himself and Nemechek.
See, and I had the audacity to question the teamwork or the pit strategy of Rick Byers, the crew chief on the 2 car. He was out in front all by himself, all those other cars pitted, and I said, Rick, what are you doing? I know you want to be the ball, but this is not the time. But it was a perfect time to do it. Good call by Rick and those guys in the pits.
They stopped with 75 laps to go, did Johnny Sauter's team, Dave. Any concerns about this thing running out of fuel in the final lap?
No, they've been very confident on their fuel calculation, Alan. They know that they can make it. Ricky Byers, though, did come down off the pit box to go talk to the crew chief of the 18 car. That'd be Tim Sutton. He said, hey, get your driver who's many laps down, that's Mike McLaughlin, to back off a little bit. You can loosen these things up if you get right underneath them, and he was kind of close to Johnny. They asked him to back off and let us just win the race, would you?
Joe Nemechek's spotter is probably a busy guy up on the roof, running back and forth to those other lap cars between himself and Johnny Sauter, trying to get some room, too.
Yeah, Joe's lost about a second because of traffic. So he's not having much luck. Neither is the spotter, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess not. Johnny Sauter from Necedah, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I said about 3 hours. I asked him the other day how close he grew up from here in Chicago, and he said about 3 hours away. So obviously, Milwaukee being the closest racetrack NASCAR Busch Series race to his hometown, but you know he's got a lot of fans, Wisconsin fans in the grandstands rooting him on today.
A lot of pressure on him coming into this season. Took over the ride that Kevin Harvick won the Busch Series championship in a year ago. And we talked about already those couple of nasty wrecks he had this year at Talladega, where he went end over end down the backstretch, and then the one in California where he got tapped by Todd Bodine and just pile drove the outside wall. Took himself out of the car at Charlotte, like Benny referenced earlier, and he's certainly over it.
And he set out a couple of races. You know, he got himself well, and I thought that was, as young as he is, I thought that was very smart, and I thought it was Richard Childress used a lot of restraint in letting the kid set back and get himself well, rather than putting a lot of pressure on him when he really was not able physically to do the job.
His best finish this year came on a track very similar to this, Las Vegas. Another 1.5 miles with fairly moderate banking. Finished 3rd out there. And he is right now 13 laps, make it 12 away from the checkered flag here in Chicagoland. Looking back, Joe Nemechek just not making any headway on him.
And those top 4 cars all pitted with about 75 laps to go, and are going to try to stretch it on fuel to make it to the end of the race. Jeff Burton, as you saw, the first car, he's currently in 5th spot. The first car that did not stop had to stop just a few laps to go, and he's paying the price. He is 20 seconds behind Johnny Sauter.
There's the comparison of Nemechek's lap time to Johnny Sauter's last time by. So he ran a little bit faster, but he's got a lot of ground to make up.
Well, he's got just a shade over 2 seconds.
You know, it's so hard to win these races. Everything just has to be perfect, even your luck. And today, the strategy that they played, talking about Ricky Vyers and Sauter's team, could have backfired on them.
2-second lead, Johnny. 2 seconds.
But everything is, all the circumstances have played in their favor.
It's a gamble all the time, and they're gambling. Really, you look at it now, wonder why more people didn't take that gamble.
Remember your first win? Your first major win? What'd that do for you?
Well, I mean, it just gives you all the confidence in the world, and that's what Johnny Sauter's looking for right now. I mean, this is real important to him. He's in a great car. He's with a great team, and actually he's expected to win.
Yeah, exactly.
So this would be a great confidence boost for Johnny and the whole race team.
And when this is over and he has time to sit down by himself and relax and reflect on it, he'll say, you know, I finally got that victory that everyone expected of him.
You know who else has played the same strategy that these top 3 have? Randy LaJoie, and he has very quietly snuck up into 4th, Dave.
That's right, Alan. They came in on lap 129, as did Johnny Sauter, the leader. Put it full of fuel and made no changes. Didn't even change tires. So Randy's out there running on old tires, but he's got fuel to the end, they think. And we'll see if all this plays out for all the guys that stopped at that time.
But I'll tell you what, Randy's running some really good lap times, considering he's not on as good a tires as maybe some of the other guys right now. So that's another strategy.
Kind of a unusual thing. Most tracks, new tires are better, but we saw in Winston Cup final practice earlier today, and this is something to think ahead to tomorrow's Tropicana 400 about, older tires don't seem to be, you know, any kind of a liability here. In fact, some people think they're an advantage.
Yeah, and these cars today, I've been noticing them scoring monitor, and they're running about the same speed from the first lap. They throw the green flag after the tire stop to the last lap. They just stay the same lap in every lap. So NASCAR obviously, Goodyear has obviously brought a very good tire combination for this surface at Chicagoland Speedway.
Coming to 6 laps to go for Johnny Sauter. Is he nervous now?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
You think, I
think he's so focused right now that, I don't think he even has a whole lot of time to be nervous. I think he's just really focused. He doesn't want to make any mistakes. He's looking in the mirror probably 100 times.
Got a car in trouble. Turn 4.
Now he's nervous.
Now he's nervous. Real nervous.
Has backed into the outside wall. Caution is out.
He did not. Now he's going, oh, man, I cannot believe it. This is not what he wanted.
The leader will take the caution with 5 laps to go. We have seen the red flag with this many laps left in a race recently. We'll see if NASCAR has to stop the race here. But I would suspect we're going to see more green flag racing before this one's over. And this changes everything. And yes, they are going to stop the field on the backstretch.
Casey put the net down, so that's a good sign.
Been a lot of debate about when and when won't the red flag be used by NASCAR. The problem with last Saturday night's race was they took the caution flag with only 3 laps to go. They don't consider that to be enough laps left to restart the race, but with 5 to go, you can do it. And they have.
And they have. The cars are already stopped. As you can see, already the pace cars picked them up. They've stopped.
Okay, all that stuff we were talking about before,
forget it.
Forget it.
Now let's reset. You see the officials in NASCAR race control, the gentleman to the next. There, circle him for me, BP. Gentleman with the glasses that's speaking there on the radio, that's David Hoots. The one next to him in the blue shirt is Brian Dehart, the Busch Series director for NASCAR.
That's the one I circled.
You circled everybody.
Yeah, well, I circled Dehart.
Kevin Triplett, the director of operations for NASCAR, is the next one along the table. They have made the call. Stop the race. Put out the red flag.
Which means now, single file, Johnny Sauter's got to get the best restart of his life.
There's Casey Kane out of his car, and okay. And let's take a look at what happened that brought out the 8th caution of this Tropicana Twister 300.
Well, as they come off turn 4, Casey Kane just in heavy traffic.
Remember, he had some rear end damage earlier from that big 6-car pileup up in turn 2.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, on the last pit stop, they had a rather long stop. I'll tell you what, just lost control off the corner. And, you know, as good as these race car drivers are, we've seen that several times today. Car drivers just lose control. Something you very seldom see in NASCAR Busch Series, NASCAR Winston Cup competition.
All right, let's set the scene for you as we get set to restart this thing to the finish. Under NASCAR rules, restart with less than 10 laps to go, single file, just the lead lap cars at the front of the pack. There are 8 who are on the lead lap here. Johnny Sauter, Joe Nemechek, and Todd Bodine, the first 3, and Randy LaJoie, the first 4. Remember, they've made the long run on the tires here. Then you've got Jeff Burton in 5th with a new lease on things here. Ron Hornaday, Jeff Green, and Jimmy Spencer, the other lead lap cars. Let's check down on pit road and some of these drivers' crew chiefs and what they're thinking here, starting with Dave Burns.
And I'm with Rick Byers. He is the crew chief for the 2-car. And Rick, I heard you say on the radio, remember, Johnny, what I told you this morning about being out front. What did you mean?
Well, I know last year the top 4 out of the top 8 cars that finished the race were on 2 tires or no tires. They took gas only. I know being out front means a lot right here. And with as good a job as he's done all day, I think he can stay out front.
You think the cars behind him will have a real hard time passing? Is that part of the deal too?
That's part of the deal. You know, getting clean air. And we've been running some good lap times. We've been a 10th to 2 tenths quicker than the guys behind us. So as long as we can get a good restart and get away from them, I think we'll be okay.
All right. And he thought about this long and hard last night. In fact, Rick told me he fell asleep with his book on his lap. That's his book of knowledge to win the race here today. Marty?
Well, Dave, Brian Patty got what he wanted. You got the caution. You've caught up to the 2-car, but can you pass him now?
Oh, it's going to be tough. I mean, Johnny Sauter's a true competitor, but the 71 Chevrolet is running really good. It's a shame because I wanted to pass him under green, but you know, the red flag deal, I guess it makes it fun for the fans, so that's what we're here for. But you know what? I think we can. You know, if we can get out front, I mean, I don't know if anyone can get around us. I mean, we were just pacing ourselves, trying to save that right front, even there at the end. So I think we still have a lot of tire left. So we'll have to see.
And they've already talked about it. The restart will be the time to pass Johnny Sauter. Matt?
Marty, while the 87 team is happy to see this red flag and close up track position, Tony Liberati, you won here 1 year ago, but you didn't want to see this late caution.
No, we pitted when we got in our window. We pitted and we was running away from the fourth place car, and I don't think we had nothing for the 2 in the front. And third place would have been good, starting on the pole with Excedrin Chevrolet, and I was just hoping that it was going to go, but now we got this, and them boys that pitted under yellow, they can come down and get them, or under the green, they can come down and get them some tires now. So it's going to be a hornet's nest out there, but I'm going to tell you what, there ain't nobody better than Todd Bodine to get mixed it up right in the middle of all that. So we'll see what happens.
This team won at Kentucky, but in the 2 races since, finishes of 26 and 27. They're looking for a good run today, Marty.
Well, Matt, Brad Parrott has what he says is the best car out there. They certainly have the freshest tires out there. He's talking to Jeff Burton on the radio right now, and they think they have a real good shot to win this thing. Are you happy with the position you're in? You got some spots to make up, but you have clearly the freshest tires.
Yeah, we got the freshest tires, but we're going to get 4 tires here. We got to go.
All right, there you go. They're going to come in and get 4 tires, and why not? There's only, what, 8 cars on the lead lap? That would be an interesting thing. They'll have 4 fresh new tires, and they've had a pretty good race car all day long.
It's what I love about these races. When you think somebody's got it all under control, everything changes. You just never know how it's going to finish.
Why on earth? I mean, you would think he has the best tires right now, and he's going to give up track position if these other cars don't pit. Can't imagine.
I can't either. And you know they're not going to be single file for the last 2 or 3 laps. They're going to be side by side, so it's going to be hard for him to pass.
He's a Winston Cup crew chief. He's a Winston Cup driver. They're not running for points.
And one thing about it, the worst he's going to start is 8th.
They don't think they've got the car to win from there. Come get the tires. What have they got to lose, right?
As Alan said, all these lead lap cars will start nose to tail, and Jeff Burton can make a pit stop. He can fall behind 30 cars, but under the rules, he can close right back up to the last spot. All right, the lead lap cars, which would be 8th.
They're rolling off here. You'll see Mike McLaughlin. He's a lap car dropping to the inside, letting the lead lap cars by to line up. They're going to come to the opening of pit road. Pit road will be open. It's what they call a quickie yellow. That means both lead lap and lap cars can come on pit road. At the same time, they're going to get the 1-to-go signal from the top of the starter stand. We'll get a restart with 3 laps to go. For Jeff Burton, who's going to come in and get tires, Brad Parrott says. Means he's got to come in, get his tires, get out, get caught back up, and get in his right place in line by turn 3. By rule, you've got to be in your place for the restart line by the time the field gets to turn 3. So he's got to hustle.
See, this is one advantage he's getting by all these cars, all the way just past Randy LaJoy.
And the 21 car, Jeff Green, didn't he? Or did he stop behind that?
Well, I think he was in front of the 20.
Pit road's open. Make sure pit road's open, I'm pretty sure.
I bet Joe Nemechek is licking his chops right now.
Ooh, Jeff, be careful.
Okay, there you see the green flag waving, which tells them pit road is open.
But you got a lot of confusion here as to who's a lead lap car and who's not. And if you pull up and you do what they call pull up to pit, if you pass somebody for a position as you're pulling up to go to pit road, you can be penalized for that.
All right, 4 cars are coming down pit road.
Pass the pace car. Don't pass the pace car. He's going forward. That's okay, though. Come on.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. or Hornaday is very, very slow. He's trying not to pass the pace car. Some of these other cars have. We'll see what happens.
Got 3 of them.
You know what's going on here? The pace car is not running the speed it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Let's go to pit road.
Well, guys, I kind of debated the merits of this move, but I think it's a pretty good call on Brad Parrott's part. They had 25 laps on their tires, and he will get 4 fresh ones. That's certainly going to help. No fuel in this stop, and no adjustments. 4 tire stops straight up for Jeff Burton, and they make a pretty quick stop. He'll be able to catch up to his position, which should be about 5th or so, Alan.
See, and the pace car did run slower around the racetrack to allow these guys to pit and get back in their rightful position.
A lot of times what they do is when the pace car pulls off from a red flag, he runs slow to let everybody get going, make sure they don't leave anybody stuck on the backstretch. But that worked to Jeff Burton's advantage there.
Sure did.
You know?
Yeah, he almost beat the pace car out.
Yeah. And, I mean, he almost passed the pace car coming down pit road because the pace car was going slower than the speed he was expecting it to. All right. This is going to get interesting. Looks like Burton is going to come up 5th in line.
Behind the 7. Behind the 7.
The guys who stayed out are Johnny Sauter, Joe Nemechek, Todd Bodine, and Randy LaJoy, the 4 guys who have been making the economy run all along. Then you've got Jeff Burton 5th in line, Jeff Green 6th, Jimmy Spencer 7th, Ron Hornaday 8th. Those are your lead lap cars, and there are going to be 3 laps to run. Where do you pass them? Outside, inside?
I think Jeff Burton can go anywhere there's a hole, because with those fresh tires, I think he'll be able to use that outside line.
I think Nemechek's going to need to get the 2 car loose.
And Randy LaJoy is coming down pit road. He must be out of fuel.
Nemechek said he had to pass him right on the restart. That's not going to happen. Johnny Sauter got away. Here comes Todd Bodine, and Nemechek's inside for 2nd. And Nemechek just slammed the door on Jeff Burton.
And Todd Bodine has got a terrific run. Here comes Jeff Burton on the inside of Nemechek.
Yeah, look at that 92 car. He got a great run on Johnny Sauter off turn 2.
Johnny got a good restart. At least he got a good restart there.
2 laps to go. Jeff Green gets shuffled off turn 4. Biffle goes by him. Burton's got to make it happen now. Lap and a half left to go for that 9 car.
All of a sudden, Todd Bodine is not making progress. He's not closing up on the back bumper of Johnny Sauter.
Report is Jeff Green may be out of fuel off the pace in that 21 car on the backstretch. White flag, final lap. Sauter 2 car lengths on Todd Bodine. Jeff Burton not able to get any farther up than 4th yet. He can't pass Nemechek. Here he goes.
He's alongside, but that's for 3rd spot.
Not enough time. The gamble is going to pay off. Necedah, Wisconsin's Johnny Sauter is going to overcome early season misfortune and get his first NASCAR Busch Series win. Johnny Sauter is the winner of the Tropicana Twister 300, his first NASCAR Busch Series victory. Richard Childress Racing is going to be in the Chicagoland Speedway's victory lane.
Isn't that terrific to see these young guys have success and that crew be so excited. And Johnny Sauter will probably not be able to speak. He'll be so excited.
But you know, Wally, think about all the pressure on that kid's shoulders. He's got older tires. He's on marginal fuel. He's going to get a restart with 3 to go with Jeff Burton and Joe Nemechek and Todd Bodine trying to chase him.
I'll tell you what, he held up under pressure. He did a great job. I mean, he had to get a good restart. He put the car where he needed to be. Now he gets to do the big burnout.
Oh, yeah, there you go. He doesn't have a lot of experience doing this.
While we watch him do the Victory Donuts, Dave Burns is with his team. Dave?
Well, the Victory Donuts were egged on, encouraged by Ricky Byers, saying, give me what you got. Show me what you got, Johnny. Ricky, you were so emotional with the guys there. What does this mean to you?
It means an awful lot. We've struggled all year. Johnny's had some ups and downs. We bounced back. We never give up on him. We knew he had it. And I knew it was so important to be up front into this race. I got beat last year because of it. And I just wanted to be up front at the end, and it worked. I'm so proud of Johnny and his whole race team. They had some great pit stops. I want to thank Richard Childress and all of RCR, all of engineering, all of motor room. All those guys do a great job for us every week.
With the idea of getting him up front, Rick, was it hard to put him in the rear when you pitted early?
It was tough, but we knew we could go all the way on fuel, and we wanted to take that opportunity to do that because we knew we could go all the way on gas. Those guys couldn't.
All right, we got to get to victory lane because we want to talk to Johnny, but we got to hustle him along here because we'll call him in. Yeah, call him in right now. Rick, get on the radio, would you?
Running a little longer than our scheduled time here today, but we absolutely want to let you hear from the winner before we have to leave the air. A couple of facts and figures here on Johnny Sauter today. He started 20th. That's the lowest start of a race winner this season in the Busch Series. 13th was the previous low. He's the 4th first-time winner in Busch Series competition this year. And he wins in just his 23rd NASCAR Busch Series start. Won the ASA championship a year ago, dominated that series, won a third of the races on the way to not only the championship, he was Rookie of the Year, too.
Yeah, and they can say, well, he's got great equipment or what have you. Well, yeah, there's a lot of good equipment out there, and you've got to be a very good race car driver to get the job done.
All right, while we wait for Johnny to get unbuckled, here are the final results from today's Tropicana Twister 300 presented by Sam's Club.
And we see Jeff Green, the last car on the lead lap, and Greg Biffle able to get by Jason Keller. Bobby Hamilton Jr. did him a favor, got by Keller as well.
Strategy didn't work out for Ashton Lewis, but he still really showed himself well today. Same for Kevin LePage in 15th. And a lot of guys with problems today. 16 cars of the 43 starters failed to finish.
See Scott Riggs back there in about 30th position. Awful hard, 30th, awful hard contact with the wall.
And again, Scott Riggs transported to the local hospital for x-rays of his ribs. He and Jack Sprague, championship contenders with troubles here in Chicago today. Time for the victory celebration. Marty? Marty lost his headset.
I'm in the middle of the mosh pit.
It's your turn.
Thank you. I couldn't hear anything. And Johnny Sauter was so excited to get out of this race car that he did it on his own. And there's a lot of beverages being flown here in Victory Lane. The 24-year-old only grew up 3 hours from here. And Johnny, what were you thinking when that caution came out?
I definitely didn't want to have it, but
I think you're going to be wet when we're done with this. Hurts the eyes, doesn't it? But it's a good hurt, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while since I had that hurt. You know, I can't thank AC Delco, Sylvania, Snap-on, Sonic, everybody enough. They stuck behind me. We had some tough times this year, and they stuck behind me. And man, right here, Richard Childress, he's the man.
A lot of people say winning fuel mileage races, you know, they don't count as much, but you beat the best in the business when that caution flew, though. Joe Nemechek, Todd Bodine, Jeff Burton, all behind you.
Well, we really didn't play the fuel mileage game. I mean, we came from 20th to 4th there, and just had real good pit stops and decided to stick to our guns. I mean, no matter what, we had a great car, and it's AC Delco car, and, you know, to get the win is just more sweet.
All right, everybody here celebrating, including Richard Childress, and I'm going to go wet my eyes out, Alan.
yeah. Put your headset back on, too. Johnny Sauter winning today's Tropicana Twister 300 at Chicagoland Speedway. Championship standings. Jason Keller was 39 points behind Greg Biffle coming into the day. Not much change there, but Jack Sprague and Scott Riggs lost a lot of ground after they were both out of this one early. More NASCAR action headed your way tomorrow afternoon at 2 Eastern on NBC with the Tropicana 400. Coverage begins with Discover Card Countdown to the Green from Chicagoland Speedway. Tonight at 8/7 Central on NBC. Don't miss the Saturday night movie Borderline, followed by Crime and Punishment. Rough race today. A lot of wild action in this one. 16 cars failed to finish. Late red flag set up a dramatic sprint to the finish, but it was that car and that team, Johnny Sauter, who got the job done. Sauter wins the Tropicana Twister 300 for Richard Childress Racing. For Bill Weber, Benny Parsons, and Wally Dowlenback, Alan Bestwick. See you tomorrow.